waiting to, because it's just come out, and so I know. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, the reviews are pretty fucking bad.
Really? I've seen some that are like, I've heard that the reviews that are bad are just like Jerry was saying. He read some reviews, and most of the reviews, it was like the good ones are like, this game's awesome, and he's like, okay, that's a useless review.
It is.
And then the other ones were like, this game's terrible, and the mixed reviews were the ones people were like in the middle were like, okay, it's got this, and they just 2 paragraphs of why. From what Jerry said, the Three Kingdoms game suffers from all the problems that all Total War games suffer from, and then other than that,
just random spawning armies and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm hoping they fix it, but I mean, it's EA.
Yeah,
like they just because. And that's the thing that pisses me off about it is because I can remember I watched some videos about Three Kingdoms Total War, and they were saying they were giving it to these professional YouTube Total War players to play so they could critique it, and they gave them all these feedbacks, and some things were fairly simple to fix, and they
were ignored.
They were completely ignored. And it's just like, why did you spend the money to do this? Because it's not like it was good, but it wasn't good marketing, because now all these people who you paid to do this have now been totally scorned, and like they gave you good information and you completely ignored them, and now all the people who watch them, which is going to be most like the Total War community probably watches 1 or 2, some of these people, and they're going to be listening.
The majority of the people who play Total War watch somebody, and otherwise they're just a casual Total War player, and that's not the person you care about, because they'll buy the game. They're not really gonna. It's the same thing as the movie industry though, because once you bought the game, that's it. I mean, I don't know what their return policy is, but it's probably not very robust.
Well, for Steam, there's no return policy.
There is with some games, I think.
Really? I didn't know. I think if there's a return policy, it's more with the producer of the game rather than Steam.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think this is an idea I was playing with a little while ago. I think that I would support legislation that forces companies to release a product for free. Or like the customer puts down a deposit that you can take back.
Rent to own kind of thing?
Yeah. So like for 3 Kingdoms, for example, you want to charge me $60, you want to charge me $100, that's fine. I give you $100, but that $100 they don't have access to until I've accepted that the game is worth $100.
Like they'll give you, at least they should give you like 2 weeks. You have 2 weeks to test the game out. And in that 2 weeks, if you're like, nope, then it's just like, even if it's like, even if they're like, all right, you pay $100, we get $10 no matter what. Okay, I pay you $10 to play for 2 weeks to see if I like it.
And then they're just going to make a $10 game.
That's true.
Yeah. See, I hate the idea of forcing a private business to do something that obviously would fuck them over, but it's just so incredibly easy for them to fuck us every single time.
Well, then, and the thing is too, because the problem with legislation like that was that would probably ruin the indie market.
Yeah.
And the indie market right now is where we're getting the games that are worth getting, because you've got people who are dedicated to the craft. These people who worked at these big companies back when they were gamer focused have now left it because they're like, this is bullshit.
So what if the legislation was only for publicly traded gaming companies?
I would like that. I don't know if it would work, because those companies would just, they'd flip out and they would rail against it so much.
Or they'd find some fucking loophole and they just bypass it.
Honestly, right now, the entire, I think America, Canada, and I think a few countries out there could do with, what Rome did, when Rome, after it was mostly destroyed, but when it started to come back, I remember the emperor hired a guy, and he's like, you need to go through all the books of law and you need to condense it. You need to condense it down, because they had more than 100 books of law or something like that.
Yeah,
and
over-regulation.
Hugely over-regulated, and he condensed it down to a single book. And they've said he did too much, but the idea behind it was a solid idea, because even though there were problems later with how he condensed it, right at the start, it made everything so much easier and smoother to do, just because people understood what the hell they had to do.
I mean, look at China. Look at how easily you can start a business here if you're a Chinese person, because of the lack of regulation. I mean, you can start any number of businesses, and you genuinely are not taking very much of a risk.
No.
In America, even a simple business can ruin your life financially. after legal fees and regulation fees and licenses and startup costs, especially if it's a brick and mortar enterprise.
And I mean, the way that those fees should be deterrents for people just trying to start up a sinking ship business, building a shitty business that's just going to ride a couple of years and then crash, and they can run away with the profit, with whatever profits they made, that. But at this point, there's a lot of amazing businesses we could have out there that they can't, because that business would never be, it would be a niche business or something like that, which could be amazing, but because of all the regulations and stuff, there's no way they can do that.
I mean, if I didn't have to go $1 million into debt, I think I'd start a restaurant in America.
Well, and that's the thing. That's one of the things that the internet.
If it just cost me like a year of salary to put on the line to try the business out and see if it'll be
risking
successful.
a year of your life for a business is
it's not a big deal.
Not a big deal.
Yeah.
No, it's understandable.
But starting a business, starting something like a brick and mortar, like a restaurant in America, if it doesn't succeed, you've ruined your life. And you've probably ruined your family's life as well.
And what counts as success there is crazy. Like, you could start a business that many people would be like, you could sit down there and you're like, your business is full, lunchtime it's full, dinner time it's pretty good, and you still might not be doing very well. Because...
Or you might make less than you would working at a different job 9 to 5.
And you're working so much more.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
And you can't afford to hire any more employees, so you have to pick up the slack.
Well, and the thing is too, labor...
And the country just becomes more and more overregulated, and then some fucker says you have to pay your shit employees $15 an hour when they're already not worth the $10 an hour you're paying them.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. I think there has to be, certain businesses, I think pay rate, how much you get paid is not based on a right.
Yeah,
that's something everybody deserves to get paid, but how much you deserve to get paid is entirely dependent on you. And I think it's one of those things, if you wanted to get paid X amount, you have to be able to show, and even I'm saying they should have tests. It doesn't have to be you've got a month of testing to do to go from $9 to $10, but you have to be able to go through and show that you're competent enough and that you're a person that, even if you're not going to aim to be management in that industry, you're going to put your effort into that industry. Because kids working at McDonald's now, they can get paid $10, $12 an hour, and what are they doing? Nothing. I know the people who, when I worked at McDonald's, there were a couple times, me and another guy, we made a few kids cry, and I am happy to have done that, because these kids were the most useless pieces of garbage out there. And I get they're teenagers, but at the same time, you want a job, you got to work at the job. And sometimes I'm willing to let you guys, at a McDonald's, there'd be times I'm letting them stand around, they're just talking, they're not cleaning up, not doing anything, fine, you do that. But then there were the good kids who'd be like, all right, we've been talking for 20 minutes, I'm going to go out and sweep the lobby. And then you have that one kid who just follow them out to the lobby and keep talking.
Yeah, he's just going to keep talking until you tell him to stop.
And I was the kind of, sometimes I would get a little too much chatty, and they'd be like, Chris, can you go do this? But if they did that, if they said, Chris, can you go do this? I'd be like, absolutely. And I'd go out, Chris, we need someone to sweep the lobby. You got it. I'd go out and I'd sweep the whole lobby, and I'd do it, and I'd do it well.
Yeah. So I don't like the idea that everyone's time is necessarily valuable at any job. And I don't like the idea that everyone has a base level of value. No matter what you put that number at, it's not going to be accurate. It's not going to be accurate at $15. It's not going to be accurate at $1. Everyone doesn't have an equal degree of hourly based value.
Yeah. Well, it also depends.
It's an absurd concept.
You could take a person who working in a restaurant would be terrible, and they have really no value in that industry. But you put them in another industry, and they could be very valuable.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things you got to be careful, because you don't want to slide into the you see on TV where it's everyone's a career is decided at birth, or you can only do this job because you have these skills, or you're this kind of person. But at the same time, there's got to be some level of proficiency. We demand this certain level of proficiency, and you don't get to sit there and go, you can't do that, you're infringing on my rights. No, I'm not. I'm asking you to do your job, and I'm saying, if you can't do this job, go find one you can do. Because if you're here, it's kind of like taking the class for the easy A. If you're here for that, then you're useless.
Yeah.
You're useless in all forms of this job.
You also have situations where you have, let's say, you have two situations, and the job is to chop onions. You have situation A where you have to pay an employee $15, and you're gonna try to find the best onion chopper you can find to justify $15. But also, he has to do a shocking amount of work because you can't afford two $15 employees.
Yeah.
Whereas if you could pay three people $5, three people are definitely going to get the job done. Three average people. They don't have to be exceptional. And because the three of them are sharing this job, maybe it's justifiable to pay them $5 an hour. But the other guy has to literally chop onions for 16 hours every day or something.
Yeah. Well, and then you get into the other side. It's like, okay, $5 an hour, they can't live on that. And it's like, well, that's not, like, that's a problem outside of your work. Like,
I actually agree with that. I don't like the idea of living wage, quote unquote. Living wage is bullshit. I hate the idea. I hate it when people complain about how much money they make and they never talk about where they live. I don't give a shit how little money you make when you want to live in Los Angeles or Manhattan. I don't care. All right? If you're not making enough money to live there, move.
Yeah.
It's absurd for you to demand more money for the same work because you want to live in one of the most expensive places in the world.
Yeah. It's not, you got to live where you're able to. And there's this idea, like everyone's got this, well, if someone else can live there, why can't I? Well, it's like, because maybe that guy went and he didn't just go, I'm going to live there. He's like, I want to live in Los Angeles and it's expensive. So
maybe he went to school for 12 years and now he's a doctor and he can live there.
Yeah, and you want to live in Los Angeles. It's okay. Los Angeles is a pricey city, all this stuff. What are you going to do to make that possible?
And McDonald's is a perfect example because if you're a McDonald's employee in New York City, I'm sure that you can also be a McDonald's employee in Fargo, North Dakota.
Yeah.
And they pretty much make the same amount of money, right? McDonald's pays you the same amount of money.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that the McDonald's salary doesn't go very far in New York City. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it does go very far in Fargo, North Dakota.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can support a family comfortably in Fargo, North Dakota, working at McDonald's. Yeah. I'm sure you're completely broke working the same job in New York City.
There's also the thing, like everybody thinks that they deserve all the nicest things because commercials tell them so, because everything tells them, and because everybody thinks that they're the hottest shit around. But it's like, you have to understand that you're only going to get what you put into anything. And sometimes, and if things aren't going well, you're not making enough money, sitting there and complaining does zero.
Yeah.
If you just sit there and bitch and moan, then you really don't care about actually increasing your living standard. All you care about is bitching because you just want to be lazy.
People also need perspective, especially in North America and Europe.
Yeah, absolutely.
The poorest person in San Francisco is still living a better life than probably half the world's population. I was watching a documentary about homeless people in New York City and in San Francisco and in like big cities in Chicago. Well, not necessarily Chicago, but the person that they were following in San Francisco was making $600 a week begging on the street.
Yeah, I remember
$2,400 a month.
That's pretty good.
That's exceptionally good money for. I mean, that person's like, what is that a year? What's 2,400 times 12? It's like 28,000.
Something like.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's $28,000.
The 48,000.
48.
Wait, I'm gonna pull up my.
Yeah, 48,000. Look, we're not Chinese. Our math isn't great. This is a North American educational system.
Well, I can do simple maths off the top of my head.
Yeah, 2,400 times 12, I'm pretty sure is like almost $30,000. All right.
2,400 times 12. Yeah, $28,800.
Yeah, shit, I was right. You said 48,000.
I know, because I saw I saw the 2 times blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Anyway, I forget the statistic for top 10% in the world, but I'm pretty sure it's like $35,000, something like that. So that homeless person living on the street of San Francisco, yes, you have to factor in how expensive it is to live in San Francisco. But there are homeless shelters. There are places they can get free food. There's places they can take hot showers. Hospitals have to take homeless people in at night and give them a place to sleep. This is by law.
So you could literally make that your savings plan. You're like, I'll be homeless for 5 years.
Well, that's what the documentary was doing. They were following homeless people around. A lot of them aren't homeless. They just beg on the street and then they go home.
Yeah, I remember there was in school we had a kid. One of the kids was like, he was joking, but he's like, when we're talking about careers, I'm just gonna go beg. And the teacher's like, yeah, really? How much do you think you're gonna get? He's like, I know a guy who gets $1,000 a week begging on the street.
Yeah.
And my teacher's like, I doubt that. He's like, no, like you can get crazy amounts of money begging, especially in a big city.
Yeah, you get even more if you're like have a sob story, or if you sit on the side of the road and sing or something like that.
Yep,
it's a fucking career.
It is.
But what I'm saying is, people need perspective.
Yeah.
The life of the average American is so fucking comfortable. It's after traveling the world and seeing really abject poverty.
Yeah.
The poverty that you can see in China and Central China, the poverty that I've seen in the Dominican Republic is really fucking shocking.
Mm-hmm.
Shocking. And so it's really difficult for me to take the plight of the middle class American or even lower class American seriously.
Because the plight is, there's no plight. It's just a child screaming, "I want more."
Well, a lot of people have very uncomfortable lives. You know, a lot of people work very, very hard. I have friends back home who work very, very hard. However, they work very hard inside of the most comfortable bubble you can imagine.
Yeah.
Where they have all of the luxuries of modern living. They have all of the luxuries of life in America. And their problems are truly first world problems, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I only have 4G over here, but I want 5G everywhere. Or I want slightly faster internet, I want better food, I want to live in a bigger house.
Yeah. And I think that's part, like, there's so much anger right now in America, in just anyone and everyone, and everyone's so close to snapping. And
There's
I think
a lot of tension.
A lot of tension. And I think part of the reason for that tension is some of these people who are complaining, deep down, they know that it's bullshit what they're complaining about, because they if anyone with half a brain can figure out some of these things that they're complaining about, it's like, I want more money to buy more things. Well, maybe I should wait and save some money so that later on I can be making more money, turn it into a thing that works for me. But no, do they do that? No, I want this, I want that. And they buy things right away.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember my brother's working with I believe it's called WFG. It's a company that helps you with your finances and stuff. And their whole thing is, we're going for the 99%. If the 1% wants to come and work with us, that's fine, but we're not, like, they have their own people.
Catering to normal people.
Yeah, they're catering to normal people. And the thing is, they've had so many people who thought they were in dire straits and they didn't know what to do, and they came to see them and they're like, all right, look, if you do these things and you put money away here, do this, those problems that you're worried about in the future aren't gone, but they're a lot smaller.
I wish that they would teach us financial responsibility in school.
It's such an important thing, and there's no finance class.
They don't teach us about saving, investing. They don't teach us about interest rates.
There should be an entire
loans, mortgages, debt. They don't teach us about investment. They don't teach us about any of that shit.
If they do, then you know how to use it, and then it stops becoming a tool of the businesses and all that. Because there's a lot of things out there that they want you in debt because then they can make more money.
I don't necessarily think it's a conspiracy to keep people dumb. I think that the educational system, especially in the United States, I'm not sure about Canada or anywhere else, I think it's just so deeply ingrained, and it's so difficult to steer the ship in a new direction. It's so difficult to change the direction of the ship that I don't think that we can ever expect to see any change.
Well, they've said...
teachers' unions are unbelievably powerful.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, too, there's been several studies done where they've looked at the education system, and they've said, there are several classes that if we just did away with them and stopped teaching kids, that would be, just doing that would be a benefit. Mm-hmm. Because there's no need for them to learn some of this stuff. Like some of the math classes and stuff, they're like, some of the math that we're taught in school is just unnecessary to the rest of our lives.
Almost all of it is. Yeah. Almost all of the math, science, almost all of it's unnecessary. Like, even history, they choose to teach us like completely fucking irrelevant things, or they spend too much time teaching a single thing. The fact that an entire year of history should be dedicated just to the 20th century.
Yeah.
More, even. Almost all of the history you learn should be extremely recent and what is affecting your life right now.
Yeah. I think that it's important to have an understanding of like ancient history and stuff like that, but it's not, you don't need to have so many classes focused on it, because it's one of those things, if you want to learn about it, you're going to learn.
Exactly. And
there's not very much that you're going to miss in ancient history that you couldn't get somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And yeah, and like some of the classes, like English class, I remember I loved English class, but I can remember there was so much focus put on it, and I just was sitting there and I can remember thinking, this doesn't seem to be necessary. Like a lot of these things that they're teaching us that we have to learn and we need to know, most people are never going to use this again.
Yeah. I never understood going into like literature. Now I'm barely literate, so maybe somebody who is more literate would be able to explain the benefit of it. But I don't see what value a 16-year-old has in reading Shakespeare.
I think too much. Like, I can see teaching about Shakespeare, teaching us about the evolution of literature. I think that's something that we should learn. But again, we don't need to have so much focus put on it, because in Canada you have to pass English. Like, I think English 10 is the minimum you have to pass. But there's so many courses out there that require you to have English that you've studied, and I'm just like, what use is this to the course I'm going through?
My goal, if I could redesign the education system, would be that the only goal of high school is to create 18-year-old students, graduated at 18, that can perpetuate society.
Yeah.
I think that should be the goal of high school.
There's some university courses that should be taken away from university and given to high school.
Well, I'm talking about even more practical than that. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to take the senior graduating class of every high school in the United States, and the cumulative knowledge of these 18-year-olds could perpetuate the country. If all of the adults just disappeared tomorrow, all of the 18-year-olds could just step into positions of sufficiently to keep things going. They understand the electrical grid. They understand the financial system. They understand the important things that need to be understood. Why is it that none of us, when I say us, I'm talking about the dum-dums, the normal people, why is it that none of us have any idea how any of this works?
Yeah. It's crazy. Like, you're absolutely right, because with all the new technology and the things that we've got, like, computers are the only thing that recently in classes they're really making kids learn about computers. But you're right, they should be learning about the electrical grid, the power, the gas, and how it works. They should understand
circuitry grids. They should understand internal combustion engine. They should understand how to purify water.
You don't have to teach them how to build it. You don't have to teach them everything, but if they have an understanding and a basic knowledge of it, because there's a lot of things that you could give them. It's like you said, teach them how to cook. You don't have to teach them how to cook. You don't like
basic first aid as well.
Yeah, you don't have to teach them how to make Italian food or to make this amazing food that's sold only in a few places for expensive.
Well, they should know how to put out a grease fire.
Yeah.
They should know how to stir fry. They should know how to bake. They should know how an oven works.
And that some people think that seems kind of simple, but it's like, no. And the thing is, too, especially before that, some of those things were things you learned at home. Mm-hmm. Like your mother would teach you how to cook and things like that. But now there's a lot of people whose moms don't even know how to do that, because the knowledge has just gone away. And so now, but they're not really learning it in school unless they choose to take an elective course, which for a lot of people, they're like, I don't want to learn how to cook. I'd rather do this. And it's like,
I think there should also be a substantial amount of time dedicated to the law. Yeah, I think it's absurd that
no law is taught. And
people are graduating high school, and you're 18 years old now, so you're an adult. You can be tried as an adult for breaking the law, and no one has any idea what the laws are.
Yeah. There should definitely be
we just have these vague ideas like, I think I'm not allowed to do this. I think I'm allowed to do this.
It's like law and finance should be two things that are heavily focused on in high school. And I even think that it's something that they should have, even for like things like YouTube and stuff like that, even come out and it's like, all right, if you want to be on YouTube, you have to spend a certain amount, like let's even say half an hour every day you have to spend learning about finance and learning about the laws, and then you can go and watch your videos.
For like kids.
For kids, even adults at this point. Like I'm just saying, because there's so many people who, what do? They go home and they just sit there and they watch YouTube and they watch
cat videos all day.
Cat videos. Or even, what do we watch? We
watch some science. History, science.
We do watch some of those
economics.
things, but
most of my YouTube material is educational.
Take a person who's just watching like Total War videos. All they're watching is Total War. It's be like, all right, you can watch that for 2 hours, and then you got to spend a half an hour learning about how to do your taxes properly.
That gets dystopian very quickly, though, when you're like forcing people to absorb information.
I know, it's one of those things. We need to learn it, but people, everyone, us included, we're stupid. And
what if you paid high school students?
I would say,
what if high school was a job where you graduate 8th grade and then you go to high school, and when you get to high school, every high school, of course, would have to be the same. there's some kind of contract that you sign with the federal government, and your success in school will result in some kind of financial benefit for you.
I think if I were to do it if they were to do it that way, I would say what it should be is very little of that money ends up in their hands right off the bat. It would be something like you do really well, and they would set up like a fund, and not trust fund, but maybe trust funds.
Or what if it's just a tax thing? What if doing well in high school permanently lowers your taxes for the rest of your life?
I don't know about that.
Why not?
Maybe.
So, like, if I go to high school, if the two of us go to the same high school, okay, and you fail all your classes, and I do well in all my classes, and then for the rest of my life I have like a 5% decrease in my taxes, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, and that's the thing. With a thing like that, I guess, the only person to blame would be yourself. You can't blame, like, there's so many people who want to point fingers today, but there's so much of the world that could be fixed if we just do it ourselves. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things, you have to fix it in your own life. You can't wait for the government to fix this or that. There's certain things you could do, and it might take time, it might take a couple years, but if you were willing to put in the time and learn how to do these things, after that, you'd be like, wow, shit just got a lot easier. And then you can go, okay, I fixed this one, now let's tackle the next problem and tackle the next problem.
I like any idea that puts responsibility into the hands of the individual.
Yeah.
I really do think almost everything is the responsibility of the individual.
It is true. I agree with you there.
Have you ever had an argument with a Chinese person about whether or not a microwave makes you, like takes the nutrition away from food?
No.
I've had that argument a couple times.
I can remember that one that was said back home.
Yeah, in like the 80s.
And there were some things, like, I can remember there's some things like my mom said to me, and it wasn't that, she wasn't stupid or anything, it was just general knowledge at the time that just turned out to be wrong. Mm-hmm. Like, I can remember one of the things was...
People just didn't understand microwave.
Didn't understand microwaves. I can remember they said don't stand in front of the microwave because, is that true?
So, you know how they have the wire mesh in the door of the microwave? That's because the waves are too big to get through that wire mesh.
Right.
But microwaves are dangerous to human beings if you're exposed to them. But theoretically, that wire mesh is stopping the microwaves from getting through the door. So I don't think there is anything wrong with looking through the door because, again, theoretically, they're being stopped. But, like, if you could get it to run with the door open, that would fuck you up.
Yeah, that would be a terrible idea.
But it's just vibrating the water molecules. It doesn't have any effect on the food itself. It doesn't have any... I had this argument that removes the nutrition from the food. I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Because it's putting something in. It's not pulling anything out.
It's just energy. It's putting energy into it. It's exciting the water molecules.
If that's the case, heat. Yeah, it's causing heat in the food rather than implying heat to the food. Because like a normal oven heats up and then cooks the food, whereas like the microwave vibrates the food and makes it cook itself.
It vibrates the water. That's why if you put something with no water in it, it won't get hot. So like if you have food on like a ceramic plate, you put the plate in and the plate is cold because it has no water in it, so the microwaves do nothing to the plate.
The only time it gets hot is if you have a bowl with soup, the soup gets hot and heats the plate.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Or heats the bowl.
Have you ever heard about people getting hurt because they try to microwave distilled water?
No.
You should never microwave distilled water because I'm going to fuck up the thermodynamics here, but the general idea is that distilled water it will become superheated in a microwave. It will go past the boiling point without boiling. And then when people take the water out of the microwave and they add something into the water, like sugar or a spoon or something like that, they excite the water.
And it just vaporizes?
It vaporizes and the cup explodes and the person gets horribly, horribly burned and hurt. And so you should never microwave distilled water. Always microwave mineral water because it will boil at normal temperature. I don't know. I can't remember the reason why distilled water has a higher boiling point or has no boiling point.
Well, it could be because you add any minerals or anything to water and it changes how the water will react to various energy sources and things.
Stimuli,
that's the word.
I love talking about science and not being a scientist. It's one of my favorite things. Want to talk about black holes? Oh, man. I love YouTube. I can't live without it.
I haven't been able to use it for the past little while.
I've actually been rocking 2 VPNs at the same time. I'm doing Lantern Free and Express Paid. I run them at the same time, and I'll notice when it drops from one to the other. Yeah. Like the Express, even though I'm doing the paid, ever since like 2 months ago. I think it's because of the military games coming up.
Probably.
It's just been shit. It disconnects a dozen times a day, probably more.
And
so I run Lantern in the background behind it, so that when it drops off, I still have internet. But
I can't get Lantern to work at all. Like, it won't connect. Fuck. Jerry's been working fine, but
I can't handle it anymore, man. I need fast internet. I need at least 720p. All right, no more 240, 144.
Speaking
no more.
Of first world problems.
Exactly, that is a first world problem, and I accept it. Okay. I'm willing to go live in the goddamn forest with the bears and the wolves as long as I have fast internet. I don't care. I don't even care about running water.
Actually, you know what? I could say that. I could do that too.
I will shit in a hole, okay? I will shit in a hole in the ground. I'll go outside with a shovel every day, dig a hole and shit in it, and then bury my shit. If I have fast internet, I'll accept that.
I could see that. If you have fast internet. I think too, because as long as you have a good internet connection, you have connection to people. Even if it's a false connection to the world and all that.
So you said that your VPN isn't working. Do you feel like you're disconnected from the world? Because that's how I feel when my VPN doesn't work for a long period of time. Because I don't have one on my phone or anything. Yeah,
I do feel that a little bit just because... But I mean, for me, a lot of what I watch on YouTube is just dribble. Like, I love it, and it's great fun. But, you know, the only one I watch that would really be anything of substance, I think, would be Philip DeFranco.
And that's just history news, or that's
news.
That's like mostly YouTube news, right?
No, he does
a lot of world news.
He does like any big events that happen in the world, he tries to cover, and he's really growing. Like he's trying to start his own news network, and they're actually really well along on that.
Yeah, YouTube news networks are coming up.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see where that goes because he's really trying to get to the point where he's free. Like they are their own news network, and so they're not worried about this company or that person saying you can cover this or you can't cover that.
And YouTube's been axing everybody. They've been fucking everyone in the ass.
Well, he started from a long time ago.
Yeah, he's one of the oldest YouTubers.
He started a long time ago, but as soon as YouTube started to have problems, he was like, all right. And he was also the kind of guy, he's like, you never have only one source.
Of course, yeah.
And he was just like...
Diversify.
He's got like dozens, if not like dozens of sponsors. He started his own business for selling like... soaps and things, which was like he sells soaps and scented beard oils and stuff like that. And I saw him, and he told me that, and he advertised that, and I was like, I want those so bad.
You don't even have a beard.
I'm right now, but I can grow one. You know I can.
Yeah, you do have a nice beard, majestic, thick.
I'm glad to have a Chinese girl who likes beards.
Yeah, it's good, and just hairy dudes in general. I'm real hairy.
Everything.
Do you have ass hair?
Yeah.
Yeah? Have you ever considered getting it removed?
Yeah.
Dude, every now and then, like, if I go, like, 12 hours without showering, my butt crack is just, it's the devil's forest. It's really horrific. It's horrific.
I get what you mean, because there are times you're just like...
Sometimes you can't even get the toilet paper to the butthole, because it's like, it gets caught in all the hair on the way.
I don't know if I've ever had that bad, but, like... When I traveled the other day, you know, I did an overnight train, and then I came back on the fast train, and I got home, and I taught some kids right after that, and I felt terrible. I'm just kind of like, my arms were down the whole time, and I was just like, all I want to do right now is shower. That's the only thing I want to do. Because
and those trains are gross, the overnight trains.
It's not even that. Like, I don't care about that, because it's not going to be much different than if you just stayed up all night and didn't shower. There's really not going to be that much difference because you're just.
It's hard for me to believe that they changed the sheets on those.
Oh, there's that, yeah.
So like,
well, I didn't have a sleeper. I didn't have a sleeper.
Okay. All right. I was thinking about the sleeper bunks.
And I gotta say, those hard seats, because like the fast train, what's nice about that, you can take the fast train. If I had to take that for 13 hours, I wouldn't care because I can lean my seat back and sleep. It's just like taking the plane. The thing with the hard seats on the slow train is. I'm sure you've seen them. Like it's two rows. They're facing each other, and it's straight, flat back.
Yeah, for everyone who's listening, imagine just like a wooden bench.
Yeah.
Facing another wooden bench, and they're definitely made for like 3 people, but there's like 7 people on each bench.
No, I only had 3 people on.
Oh, really? The ones I've been on, there's like people standing in front of me on the alley and stuff.
We didn't have
it's
any
totally
of that.
overcrowded.
We didn't have any of that.
We took a slow train from I think it was Kunming to Dali.
Well, I think also some cities, like some cities will let more people get on. Like some people
were carrying like bags of chickens and stuff.
The first train,
boxes of prawns.
The first little train I took was
fucking
like
disaster.
It was like a month after I got here. We were coming back from Beijing, 15 hours, and that was the most disgusting thing I've ever been in. Because people are like, they've got like full chickens they're eating, and they're just throwing the bones onto the aisle. The aisle, there's the seeds that and it's all over the place, and it was just disgusting and greasy and dirty, and it was so gross. This last train that I took wasn't like that. They didn't have any of that because
That's good.
I think now, at least in Wuhan, like they'll have people walking up and down, and if they see that, then they'll be like, "Who's this? Who's throwing garbage in the aisle here?"
I actually love the sleeper trains. The cheaper ones, the hard bed sleeper trains, where it's just bunks, like 4 bunks.
Yeah.
Because there's no wall at the end of the bunk, and my legs can hang off the edge.
Yeah.
The more expensive ones have a wall, and then I have to sleep in like the fetal position because the bunk is so small. But if you're at the tallest bunk, your feet are like 2 feet above everyone, other than the average height of everyone. So
I'm not quite as tall as you, and I'm just at the perfect height where if I do go on those sleeper trains, I can stretch out and I'll touch the wall, but I just have to bend my knees just a little bit, and I'm good. Mm-hmm. And so that's fine. And then sometimes I'll put the pillow up and then just lay flat on without the pillow.
Also, I love being far away from everyone. You're so far away from everyone when you're on the top bunk. Oh, also you have that shelf.
Yeah,
I always forget about that shelf. But you're so far away from everybody up there, you like look down on it and you feel like you're removed from the chaos. And it really is chaos down there.
Well, and the thing is too, when you're up there, like everything gets quieter.
Yeah.
Because you've got, like when you're on the second bunk, you're still in level with the door, but when you get that top bunk, you're above the level of the door, and everything
somebody
just gets
who's
quieter.
tall is like looking you in the eye.
Yeah.
On the third level.
Well, there's only 3 levels.
There's 4.
4? I've never been on a train with 4 levels. I've only been on a train, like it's bottom bunk, middle bunk, top bunk. I've never been on a train with 4 levels.
Maybe I'm imagining a 4th one.
Because that would be crazy to get to, because like you couldn't even reach the 4th level with your hands or anything like that. Like I know they have the steps so you can.
Well, yeah, the one I was on. So I'm 6'4". The one I was on, if I'm standing on the ground, I can just barely reach the top. Bunk, stretching out.
I've never been on a train that had that many bunks.
Yeah, like you have to go up like normally they have like a ladder system. On this one they had steps.
I've never seen a ladder. Like what they had like in between each bunk there'll be a little thing that folds down, just a single step.
Yeah, that's what they have on this one.
Yeah.
What they have on the ones I've been on before is they'll have like posts coming out of the wall in between the cabins.
I've never been on that. Never been on a train with that. I've been on a bunch of sleeper trains, but
I remember how tall it was because as I was climbing down, I got down to the last step, and then I realized how far away I was. I was like, if I go all the way to the ground, I'm not going to be able to reach my backpack on the shelf.
Yeah. So you had to reach back up, grab it, pull it down, put it on the 3rd bunk,
and then come down. Yeah, it's real high up. It's tall.
The thing with those hard seats, the worst thing for me is it's like the back straight up. Like it's just a straight wall. Like sitting against the wall is one thing, but when you're trying to sleep, because you're like when you're in a chair that can lean back a bit, your weight is pressed into the chair.
And it's like the wall is perfectly vertical.
Yeah. When you're on a perfectly vertical wall, as soon as you sleep and your head lolls, suddenly you're just going. Like your head lolls to the right and you're being dragged. It happened several times to me, and I was on the aisle, and the guy across me, I can remember a couple times because I'd fall asleep, and then I'd start to lean to the right. And I just keep going because I'm not pressed into anything. I'm just going, and so I snap awake.
This little old man sitting next to you.
No, I was like falling into the aisle.
Yeah.
And then I can remember the guy across me a couple times. I saw him like snap awake because he's falling, and it was just like I was scared to sleep because I'm like, one of these times it's gonna happen. We're both gonna go at the same time. It's just gonna be bam and just collide.
Both of you go face first into the aisle.
What I ended up trying to do was like I turned, so. Like I had backed the person who's sitting beside me, and I'm just kind of like this, like just lying, pressing my side into the chair, and it was just so uncomfortable. I slept maybe an hour and a half in the 13-hour flight or a train ride until the 2 people beside me got up, and there was 3 people on the side across me, but at 6:00 in the morning, 2 people beside me got up, and I took the whole seat. I was like. I felt a little bad because like I could let one of those guys come over and sit over here, but I was just like nope, and I took the whole seat and I slept for 2 hours. Just lay down, and it was the only real sleep I got.
Classic. I have a huge pet peeve with chairs. All right, so imagine you're sitting in a chair, and you have support that's like under your ass, and then you also have support under the front of your legs, like just behind your knees. When you sit in a chair and that area in front of in the front, like just behind your knees, when that collapses forward and you start like sliding off of the chair. You know what I mean?
Or there's the other thing, like that was the thing that I noticed with these hard seats. When that part on your knees is just a little bit higher, like it's up, and you can feel that your weight, like you're sitting back, and you can feel the pressure on the back of your legs because that it's raised just a little bit, and I'm just like, this is not.
Well, I guess we have different preference because I want that pressure. I want because it feels like it pushes me into the seat, like I'm like pushed into the seat. If I don't have that pressure, I feel like I slide forward.
In a seat like you're talking, it's sitting right there, I could see because you've got the seat, you can lean back. But when you're against a wall, that all that is happening is your legs are just being pushed up a bit. It's not pushing you into the seat anymore because you're as into the seat as you can get because you've got that solid wall behind you. And I just remember, like, I'd put my legs
smooth
down.
wood as well, right?
It's like there's like a centimeter of foam or something on there, but
a millimeter. It was literally a piece of printer paper.
Yeah. And I just like there were a couple times I'm sleeping and I'm like, you're trying to sleep, and I was like, fuck, I have to stand up because my ass is hurting. I'm in so much pain right now.
The only thing I don't like about the top bunk, the very top bunk, is that you can't see out the window. And sometimes you're going through like a really scenic part of China, and the third bunk is flawlessly, it's flawless. You can lay there in maximum comfort and look out the window.
I don't know. For me, I'm always
sometimes I want that.
I'm always reading or playing a game or something like that. Yeah. So I'm focused on something else, so that doesn't really bother me.
Yeah, I'm usually up there just sleeping or
that's one of the things. Like when Penny comes with me, sometimes it bothers me because I bring things to entertain myself. I will have like my Switch. I'll have my phone with books. If I've got internet, I'll watch a video on my phone. And Penny's just like, well, let's talk. Come on. I'm bored. And it's just like, then you should have brought something to entertain yourself. This is a 13-hour train ride. There is nothing we can talk about for 13 hours.
13 hours.
And she gets mad at me. She's like, you don't want to talk to me? He's like, no, it's not that. I just don't want the reason to be you have nothing else to do. Mm-hmm. Because then that means that we're going to have, every time you're going to be trying to talk to me, and we're just going to be sitting there after a while with nothing to talk about, which has happened a couple times. Or she's like, there's nothing to talk about. She's like, I guess I'll go to sleep. And I'm like, all right. And I go back to playing my game. And she's like, oh, you're always playing your game. I'm like, yeah. And look at me, not bored. Not sitting here going, I guess I'll go to sleep. Game. Like, bring a book, find a hobby, just do something.
Last time I went to Shanghai, I just took the hit on my data and I just watched South Park on Billy Blade the entire time.
Well, I have unlimited data, so that's not a big deal. Well,
nice.
I don't have unlimited roaming data, but...
it's roaming if it's outside Hubei, right?
I believe so, yeah. There's a website I use, it's called like I Made You, or now it's like Made You or something like that.
It doesn't work for me anymore.
Really?
So the very first time that Jerry showed me Imiju or whatever it's called, that's when I watched Love, Death, Robots. I watched the whole series on there. And then like a few days later, I tried to go on again. Hasn't worked. And it doesn't work for my phone either.
Have you, really?
And with or without VPN.
That is really weird.
It gives me a screen of like the like that little anime character of like the broken computer monitor with a bandage on it. And it just doesn't work.
That is really weird because I use that all the time.
It doesn't work on either computer with or without VPN. Doesn't work on a phone.
That's really bizarre.
Yeah.
Because there's like it's not like it's blocked. It's working fine.
Yeah. Maybe it's just blocked for me. Love, Death, Robots was awesome.
It was a great series. I would love to see more of that.
I really hope Netflix does more of that. I read an article a little while ago that was saying Netflix is deeply, deeply in debt. They're just paying for all of these series to be created on debt. Or they're paying with debt, I should say. And so that's disappointing.
Yeah. I thought they were doing really well.
I thought they were as well. You might end up seeing Netflix catastrophically collapse.
Well, I mean, it being blocked here in China, that's not a big deal for me, but I do, like, Netflix was... There's a couple other video websites, but Netflix was the big one.
Yeah. Well, my friends back home have stopped using Netflix, and they all use Amazon streaming service because it comes free with Amazon Prime. So they all have Amazon Prime, so they all just use the Amazon service.
Prime is just like their service, like...
It's free shipping.
Free shipping.
Yeah, right. Unlimited free shipping. But it's like $150 or
that's not...
something like that. I forget. Or maybe it's more expensive.
I mean, if it comes with free streaming, then that's like, all right, if you're not going to use a streaming service, $150 is a bit...
I think it's more expensive than that, actually. Now that I think about it, it's more expensive than Netflix. A lot more expensive.
Okay.
But it has now... I think that they bought... Pandora. I think Netflix bought, or Amazon bought Pandora. Actually, Pandora's the music platform. Actually, I don't think that's true. I don't know. Anyway, I know my friends back home basically end up using Amazon for everything now. They use it for streaming movies and TV shows. They use it for listening to music. They use it for normal delivery services.
Well, one of the streaming services I was excited about starting up, and I am and I'm not right now, because it was DC streaming.
Okay.
Because I love DC, and I love all the cartoons they had for it. And one of the big things that they were doing was, did you ever watch Young Justice? It's a
once or twice with you.
Yeah, Young Justice was a really, really great superhero movie about the sidekicks, bringing them together. It's a TV show, yeah. About the sidekicks, like Robin and Aqualad and Kid Flash and all them coming together. And the first season was just basically about those five. It's like 5 or 6. And then in the next season, basically they become like Justice League Junior, where they've got, dozens of people, superheroes working for them. And then it got canceled after the second season. Well, when DC started their own streaming service, they brought it back. And I was so excited because now it's not on Cartoon Network or anything like that. It's on its own service. So they're not, they don't have to worry about ESRB. No, not ESRB. What's the rating system for movies?
No idea.
Whatever. The rating system for movies. They don't have to worry about it being kids, because this is the whole thing. You go on there and it's like, look, we're not doing this for children. This is a cartoon. It's going to be a little bit more. And one of the things I loved about it was, Cyborg, the hero. When they think about having that on a kid's service, how does Cyborg come to be? Well, there's some kind of accident where most of his body is destroyed, or a large portion of it. That's not going to be a bloodless event. And that was one of the things they did really well with this one, is when he had that happen, like they had the pool of blood coming. You could see his ribs are open. You could see his heart slowly beating through there. And it was really brutal, but it wasn't brutality for the sake. It's not just they're showing
it wasn't gratuitous.
It wasn't gratuitous. It was an honest, he got caught in an explosion. This was legitimate, and it showed it. And I was really glad that they could do that because of their streaming service, and that they're not worried about all these ratings and stuff. So that was really cool. And the other side of it, though, was when they released their live action Titans. I remember watching Teen Titans when I was a kid, and I loved that show. And then they released the live action Titans, and I'm just sitting there going, oh, good. Another thing, it was just generic. It was like you could have taken any of the storylines or any of the iterations of these characters, and you went with just boring. It was because one of the characters was Raven, and she's this half demon girl.
Okay.
And her mother joined a cult, slept with the devil.
Naturally, as one does.
Not with the devil, but with a devil, a demon, and had this daughter. But after she realized, she figures out, oh, hey, maybe this shit isn't what I want. She ends up going to another place between dimensions and raising her daughter with these monks. And that was how Raven came to be. And then she comes back and she joins the Titans. She's got these powers. And in this one, what did they do? She's this girl she's an orphan, an adopted girl living with this woman who has weird nightmares. And it was just come on, it's just so boring, and it's been done. How many movies could you say that have been done about this, a girl who's possessed or something like that by the devil, and she has these weird episodes where shit just goes crazy. And it was so boring. And then, Robin was just this angry guy who's just beating people practically to death. He's, Batman's no kill thing, and he's just, it's yeah, okay, no kill, but is it really any different if you're beating a guy to the point where he's never going to be able to really do anything for the rest of his life? And it was all poorly done. Mm-hmm. And then one of the things they had, one of the characters, Starfire, she's an alien, she's orange. And they cast a girl who I thought really looked the part. She looked like she could be Starfire, but my problem, she's black in the show. And I'm just Starfire's not a black woman. Starfire is orange. And if you cast a black lady, perfectly fine. No problem with that. But then she comes in.
She still has to look like an alien, though.
She still has to look like an alien. And in every single iteration of Starfire, she's been orange. And the only time she's orange in this is when she uses her powers, she glows orange. And I was just that is not... you picked a great actress.
They made her a human being with a weird orange power.
Yeah.
Rather
and
than
I was
an alien.
Yeah. And I think the actress they picked, because a lot of people were pissed and they were going after this actress, saying horrible things to her. And I don't agree with that, because I think they picked a good person to portray Starfire, but they just went about portraying her poorly. It's nothing to do with the actress. It's what the studio has done to her. Mm-hmm. And, it was just, it was severely disappointing.
That's unfortunate.
The other thing they did, though, which was Doom Patrol, which is one of the older ones.
I didn't know DC had so many IPs. I didn't know that they could have their own streaming platform.
Yeah, well, like they've got basically any superhero thing that belongs to DC, they can start a show for.
I didn't know they even had that big of a roster.
Oh, there's quite a huge roster. It's just some of them you don't really see in today.
It's not that popular. People don't know.
Or they were done like in the 60s. Like the one I was just going to mention, Doom Patrol. That was one of the first superhero team-ups way back, and they made a series about that. It's in the same world as the Titans one, but the Doom Patrol one I felt it was really well done. I really enjoyed it. It was a little bit less of a superhero one and more kind of like a bizarre drama with the superheroes.
Live action or cartoon?
Live action.
Okay.
I would actually suggest it. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
You and Jerry have recommended it to me. I haven't watched it yet.
He hasn't seen Doom Patrol.
He hasn't seen it?
No, Doom Patrol is not good. But yeah, Doom Patrol, it's really good because it's just about the thing that I liked about it is some of these people have powers, but it's not like Superman or Wonder Woman or anything like that. Like one guy is a brain in a robot's body.
Naturally.
And so...
As I hope to be one day.
And so his whole thing is kind of about how he copes with that. One woman, she can stretch and like basically shape into anything, but if she loses focus or gets like... When it first happened, when she's stressed out, she just turns into a blob. And to use her power, she has to like really focus and takes emotion. And one guy, he's possessed by this like spirit... this energy spirit from another dimension, but he gives off radiation, so he's got to wear these medical bandages and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so all of them have superpowers, but their powers all come at a high cost. And I really like, because the show is more about how they deal with having these powers rather than just going out and beating up a bunch of people.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah. And then they had it wasn't Batman's no-kill rule. Like, these guys aren't superheroes. They're people with powers.
Yeah, so they kill the shit out of people.
So, like, there are times, like, when they go into a place, they're trying to find someone who they lost. When they have to fight, like, they have the robot guy goes berserk because he's dealing with all this shit of being in this body, not able to eat or feel or anything like that. And he goes apeshit on these people and kills them all.
Yeah.
Like, they were attacking him, so it wasn't like he just walked into a room and started killing people.
So walks into like a subway. Hey, can I get some pickles and tomatoes? Oh God, giant robot.
One character I really like. She's 64 personalities, each one with a unique power. She's got split personality disorder, and all of her personalities have their own unique power, and that is really kind of interesting.
How many have they introduced in the show yet?
Not too many.
Are you worried that's going to become kind of a MacGuffin, like a plot device where? They're like, we need this problem solved. She's like, don't worry, I have a superpower for that.
It could be, but yeah, you're right. That is a potential problem. But so far, it's been the thing. They really went with this, and they went for the freak show side of the DC universe, because like there were a lot of these people back in the day, the old superheroes who had weird powers. They had a few comics. They didn't run for very long. They bring them back into this, and they even go like these guys were superheroes back in the 60s and stuff like that. So they really make a lot of tributes to them, and they bring them in, and it's all interesting and kind of funny, and I've really enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. And the main villain is you remember Wash from Firefly?
Yeah.
The actor? He's the main villain. That awesome. Actor. He's really become one of my favorite actors. Like, he was really good. I loved Powerless. I really wish Powerless would kept going.
Never seen that.
It's a comedy set in the DC universe, but it's about the normal people in the universe.
That's good. That's a good idea.
It's from the comedic standpoint of how they deal with just all this crap going on around them.
In a world of superheroes.
And so, like, stuff happens, and then they're just like, oh, what is it today? Gas attack? Like, they know there's an alarm goes off, and they're like, what's that alarm? Was that gas attack? Or is that this? It's like, no, what was the line? One of the characters asks, is that alarm the robot Nazi zombies from the future? And then the guy's like, no, that alarm's more like wee. And they're just like, they're making jokes about.
I'm definitely gonna watch that. Can you find that on any Chinese platforms? Like if I go on Bilibili?
Maybe I can give it to you though. I have it.
You have it? Okay.
I downloaded it.
How much stuff do you have downloaded?
Of that?
No, of TV shows and movies and stuff. I'm trying to collect from people.
Just since I started using Anime not so much.
Okay.
But I have all of Powerless because they only did like 13 episodes and they're really great. But then they canceled it and it was just like, why? That's such a good idea.
Yeah, it is a great idea. The normal people living in a super world.
And like the guy Wash's character, he's Bruce Wayne's cousin, but he's just completely incompetent. But he's Bruce Wayne's cousin, and so.
What about Adventure Time? Do you have that downloaded?
Significant amount of it, but not the last season.
Damn. I haven't seen the last season. I haven't seen any of it yet.
You should try the Watch Cartoon Online because they have it.
I've tried that as well. Normally, it's shit quality for me.
It sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. I was watching Dragon Ball Super on there today. I saw...
How is that show? I feel like I've seen so many clips on YouTube now, I don't need to watch the show anymore.
I'm enjoying it. One of the things I really liked, I watched the new Broly movie they made.
Okay.
And that was really good. I really liked how they did it because they kind of, Broly was the legendary Super Saiyan before and he was so powerful they couldn't beat him. In this case, it wasn't like that. Like, he'd never been Super Saiyan. And he'd been trained by his father on the world, and he was an extremely strong fighter, but because he'd only been with his father, he'd never been pushed. And so just while fighting Goku and Vegeta, he gets pushed to the point where he goes out of control and goes into heavy Super Saiyan mode. But they also said the reason he's out of control isn't necessarily because of his Super Saiyan power. It's because he's been, ever since he was a small child, he's been living on an inhospitable world with his father who was just cruel. And so basically he's just got the mindset of a young boy. Mm-hmm. And his father, like, whenever he got out of control, he was shocked back into submission.
That pendant thing?
Yeah. And so what was really cool about this is they added some people in there who were trying to help Broly. And actually, Broly in this one would have died. And like because Goku and Vegeta fused, he would have been totally destroyed. And they used the Dragon Balls to wish him away. Sorry, I know I'm just giving you spoilers, but and it was really cool because they really they made Broly a character rather than just this big angry villain that they had to fight. Yeah. They really gave him a story, and it was I really enjoyed it. And
that's
the fights,
he needed his character.
He needed to be a character rather than just
Were his fights pretty epic?
The fights were pretty epic.
The Broly movie, the classic one, the fights are so fucking brutal.
Yeah, this one was like, I really liked how they did it because they just it was lots of energy attacks, but it wasn't so much like the charging a big Kamehameha. Yeah. They had like Vegeta coming in and he's charging bolts and hurling them, and then Broly's getting knocked back, coming up, firing, and it was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
That's good. That's what the fight should be, really dynamic. Yeah. That Goku Frieza fight is still probably, or maybe Goku Vegeta, the first one, is probably the best fight.
Yeah. It's just, these ones, they have they're more flashy with the new ones. Mm-hmm. One of the things, too, I like is, it wasn't just Broly. Like, they brought in, like, they explained about, they retconned a bit about how Vegeta was destroyed, the planet. Yeah. And they had...
Is it still Frieza?
It was still Frieza. And it was cool, too, because the way they introduced Frieza to the Saiyans was they had King Cole, his dad, come in. He's like, yeah, I'm retiring. Here's my son. He's in charge now. And so you see Frieza step out, and he's literally like an 8-year-old kid.
Oh, shit.
And that's why when you see him like on Namek and stuff like that, he's still quite a young person, and he's just this young spoiled brat. Yeah, and he's back now. He's back, like he's alive again in the universe. And so how he gets to Earth is Frieza's going to Earth to get the Dragon Balls, not to wish for immortality, because after he's been in hell, he doesn't want to have something like the possibility that could be endless. So he's like, I want to be 5 centimeters taller. And it's like, why don't you wish for more? Because then people would notice.
That's great.
And so he brings Broly. He's the one who brings Broly, because they find Broly on this planet, and some soldiers bring him back to Frieza, and they bring him to Earth to fight Goku and Vegeta, because Frieza doesn't want to tussle with them. And so when Vegeta and Goku are getting the shit kicked out of them by Broly at the beginning, what do? They run. When Broly's going out of control, they go straight at Frieza, and then right as they get close to Frieza, Goku instant teleports, and Broly's just like, "Fah!" and just starts going at Frieza and beating the living fuck out of him. And then Frieza goes into his golden form. He's like, you won't see the power that is golden Frieza. It goes back to Goku and Vegeta, they do something, and then it goes back to Frieza, and you just boom, 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 and you're just getting the shit kicked out of him. It was so good. Just completely, just totally, Frieza's nothing in this movie because of Broly. Like, the only way they beat him is by being fusing. Mm-hmm. And it was really, really well done. I liked it because they pulled on...
Do they fuse as Gogeta or Vegeta?
Vegeta.
Okay. Gogeta still is retconned, right? Like, that technically never happened?
Wait, Gogeta was...
That was from the movie, Janemba movie.
I thought that was still... No, it is Gogeta, sorry. Vegeta was when they fused with the earrings.
Vegeta was when they fought Super Buu.
Yeah, in this one they did bring it is Gogeta again.
Okay.
Because they said last time I think he even says something about the fact he's like, this one's a little bit more Goku, so we're gonna be Gogeta, and so they do very similar when they fuse to what they did before.
Do you remember the Janemba movie?
I do remember it, yeah.
So did he use like his powers that he had in that, where he like has that sparkle dust attack that just kills Janemba instantly?
No, they didn't do anything like that.
Okay.
It was very.
That's probably a good thing.
It was more like they had the one big Kamehameha blast, but other than that, it was more unnamed blasts of energy and stuff like that. So it was. But I gotta say, even if you don't watch the whole thing, Broly movie's worth checking out.
Okay, I will watch that then. I hope some of those Love, Death, Robots shorts get spun into either feature-length movies or miniseries.
Yeah, I think some of them really could. Like the first one might be cool to watch.
Which one was that?
That was the one where she goes into the monster. Like she takes control of the monster with her mind.
Yes, yeah.
That could be cool. That one could also... I look at that one, it could be cool, but it could also be just another weird cyberpunk thing that doesn't do very well.
Yeah.
The one I think would be actually kind of cool to watch would be the Farmer one, where they blow that into a miniseries.
Yeah.
That would be cool. A series about trying to...
inhabit uninhabitable worlds.
Yeah.
Be a farmer, they said. See the galaxy.
Or, some of them, my favorite one is still... we talked about this last time, was the Xeon Blue.
Which one's that?
That was the one where the little pool droid, the little pool cleaner, ends up evolving. That's my favorite one, just for that whole evolution over hundreds of years, because he's just constantly upgraded to the point where he's a fully sentient being.
Yeah.
I loved that. I thought that was so cool.
But he can't remember why he's so obsessed
and
with
then he finally finds out, and he's just like, I just want to go back to being a simple life form, enjoying a task well done, because he's been so obsessed all his life with trying to figure out what that was.
Yeah, I like that one as well.
It was really well done.
I'd love to see the Russians fighting the monsters.
Yeah, that would be good. Even just to see, go back and see the ritual that was done to summon them and all that.
I think that could do like a 10 episode miniseries, 20 minutes of the episode.
Yeah, they could really do that well.
Watch the impact on the Soviet Union, watch the impact on the world. These monsters everywhere. And I love any world where they have like World War II technology and they're fighting something that's supernatural. Yeah, I like that. So have you watched the show Chernobyl yet?
No.
Great HBO show. Just came out recently. It's only going to be 5 episodes. The 4th episode just came out recently. I think the 5th one comes out this week. I'm not sure. But I just binge watched the first 4 episodes last night or 2 nights ago. Yeah. So stayed up pretty much all night.
Is it like a documentary or is it a drama?
It's a reenactment drama, but it's extremely historically accurate.
Oh, okay, that sounds really good.
What I heard somebody explain it as, and this person was in a bar when they were explaining this, so it might all be bullshit, but that every piece of evidence they actually factually have from the situation was included in the show in some way.
Oh, that's really good.
And so it's extremely historically accurate. Apparently.
So then just what's going on between the characters themselves might be a little bit...
Even the characters, I think a lot of them are real. I'm not sure.
Well, real, but some of their daily interactions they might throw in there to make the story and stuff like that.
But check it out. It made me want to play Stalker so badly. I
still haven't played Stalker. I gotta play that.
Call of Briquette. You have to play it, man. It's just there's no game that I can say it's up there with Oblivion for me.
Okay,
it's that good.
Let's check it out.
And skip the second one, Clear Sky. It's garbage.
Okay.
So play the first one, Shadow of Chernobyl. It's the classic. It's got the best story. And then go straight to the third one, Call of Pripyat, which the story is more simple, but it's so much more satisfying to play, and it's much more exploration based. Okay.
Speaking of shows and movies, have you seen the new Aladdin?
No. Is that name Will Smith?
Yeah.
Is that a TV show?
No, it's a movie.
Okay.
Because Aladdin was the first movie I ever saw in theaters, the original one.
All right.
And I still love that movie because I remember my dad talking about it, and I've only just recently been able to appreciate it after what I've learned about animation and stuff. The animation they did in that movie was so far ahead of its time. We can do it fairly simply now, but to have done it back in the 90s was quite difficult, and they did an amazing job. And the new one, they did really well. Disney's done 2, they did Beauty and the Beast and now Aladdin, and both of them have been phenomenally done. They didn't try to remake the story. They're we're just going to tell it again with people instead of a cartoon.
Oh shit, I didn't know it was live action.
It's live action, yeah. Okay. It's all live action, and they did it all they take all the same songs from the original. They're all back in. but they change a little bit of it. It's a little different, but it's still the same story, and it's really well done. I still love like the original better, but they did a phenomenal job with this as far as I'm concerned. It was
sounds pretty awesome.
And Will Smith, like,
I actually have never seen the original.
You should watch it. It's a great movie. When you think about when it was made, which was like 96, 95 or something like that. Yeah, because I was like 8 years old when it came out. Okay. And just the animation you'll see is, for that time, was just like, wow, what they did was pretty good. And Beauty and the Beast was another one that I saw, and I really thought they did a really good job with that one too. They've done, I can't wait to see what they do for their next live action ones, because they've both been, for me, phenomenal things. Because again, they didn't try to reboot or change. They're just
they didn't make them animated. I think them, really high quality CGI.
I think the whole thing with this was because they've already had it animated. The whole thing was to do it live action. That was the point, that they wanted it live action. And Beauty and the Beast was done really well. I really enjoyed that. And it's just like, Beauty and the Beast was one when I was a kid. It was like, oh, it's a good movie for girls. But as I've gotten older, I've actually really grown to appreciate it.
You've become a girl.
Yeah. But they did that one really well too, because they didn't change anything.
Is the Beast CGI or is it practical?
I think it's CGI.
Okay.
Yeah, like Will Smith when he's the genie, he's CGI.
Well, of course, the genie, but the Beast could be a guy in a wolf costume.
No, I think they did CGI for that.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Even when I was a little kid, I had the idea, I recognized that animation was so much better than live action in so many ways. It has so many advantages. Like, for example, the actors are literally created for the role, and they perform the role flawlessly.
Yeah.
Like, you're never going to have a bad actor in an animated film.
You could have a bad voice actor, but...
Yeah, you could, or bad dialogue written. But the character, what you're seeing, the visual is going to be flawless always. And I watched a YouTube video that was talking about how difficult it is to do animation and how long it takes for a big studio to make an animated thing, like, for example, Avatar or something like that. It takes years and years. And the video was talking about how they're using machine learning to fill in the gaps of animation to streamline the animation process. Oh. So we may be coming into a future here, in the near future, where a single animator could have and could direct the production through the use of AI of an entire feature-length, really high-quality CGI or animated thing without hundreds of artists and hundreds of millions of dollars and years of time. Mm-hmm. And I think once that comes, live action is going to be it's going to be a minority of production.
Well, and I get what you mean, because like Beauty and the Beast is one where going from animation to live action is not going to be that different, because it's the kind of story where you don't need to have the amazing animation effects that you like, the things you would want to choose that you would make you choose animation, whereas Aladdin would have more things that you would want to have animation for something like that.
Yeah. Or like Avatar or Warcraft.
Yeah. So
if 10 years from now, one guy in his apartment can produce something of Warcraft or Avatar quality by himself without expensive equipment or anything like that, and they can do it in a reasonable amount of time, 6 months or a year, we're going to be in a world where
indie movies start to become a thing.
They're just shockingly high quality, and so we're just inundated with this stuff. And then that's going to, because you're inundated, it's going to decrease the value of them. And you're going to be on YouTube, and there's going to be...
You're not going to be able to watch them.
Yeah, there's going to be thousands of ultra high quality, even just in a single IP. Imagine how many people are going to go out there and make fan-made movies of Warhammer.
Yeah. Like
the Astartes thing right now. Anyone listening needs to go to the YouTube channel called Astartes and subscribe. This guy, he's in his free time, he's making this CGI short of Warhammer 40K.
Really?
Yeah, you've never seen it?
No, I haven't seen it.
Holy shit! Okay, we're gonna watch that after this podcast. Mm-hmm. It's the highest quality representation of 40K I've ever seen, and it gets the grim, dark reality of the universe so well done. I hate when I see 40K representations and it's all bright and happy and colorful and all this shit.
Yeah, that does not sound like a world that would be nice.
The universe is supposed to be all death and destruction, so anything that's not death and destruction doesn't fit in the world.
Because it's basically, you have the powerful people who are just churning out soldiers and they're sacrificing millions of them a day just to conquer something.
The Imperium can lose 1 million troops in a single battle in an afternoon, and it's not even like a line on the logistics. Like it's negligible amounts of people.
It's like, we lost 1 million troops in this battle. Oh, well.
They issue a laser rifle to the Imperial Guards, and the laser rifle is actually substantially more valuable than the guardsman, than the human being carrying the rifle. Because you're talking about an empire that has like quadrillions of human beings.
And then this piece of technology, which comes from a limited resource, whereas people seem to be... And I'm guessing at that point there'd probably be cloning or something like that they could do.
They have all sorts of crazy shit like that, yeah. But imagine if it didn't take him 6 months to make... I mean, he only has 3 clips, and they're like 20 seconds or 30 seconds long. Imagine if it didn't take him 6 months or a year to make one of these clips. Imagine if a year he could make a 90-minute whole series and it's the same quality.
That would be awesome.
Be incredible. I'm so excited about the future. I'm so excited. I don't care what happens. I really don't. I don't care if it's good or bad. I'm just excited to see it.
Well, yeah, it's one of those things. Like, it's the unknown, and that's so exciting yet so terrifying. But it's like, just be excited for it, because whatever happens,
even if it's the robo-apocalypse, at least we get to fight in it. You know.
When we're in the middle of it, we might be like, why did we ever think that? But for now, woo!
Yeah, exactly. For now, let's order some pizza. You know, Aloma still works.
What was it? Louis C.K.'s joke about how he's like, talking about white people, and he's like, look, this, being white, like one day this is going to all come crashing down. But for now, woo!
Yeah, for now, woo!
He's like, we're going to have to pay for everything that happened. But for now,
Dude, I have the same thought with modern living. We were talking about how comfortable people's lives are in modern societies in first world countries. I'm just gonna gorge myself at the buffet, because who knows what's gonna happen. 10 years from now, the whole world could be in complete chaos, and so for now, I'm just gonna
certainly building towards something.
Enjoy it as much as humanly possible. Maybe I'll go live in the woods.
Even then, like if they wanted to find you, it wouldn't be that hard. Like, if you're living by yourself in the woods, maybe, but...
Especially since I spent all of the money I've ever made on a really fast internet connection being put out in the woods. Call the internet company. How much does it cost to have an Ethernet, or not Ethernet, what's the glass cable?
Fiber optics? Fiber optics, yeah.
How much does it cost to have a fiber optics cable sent out into the woods of West Virginia?
There's just a cable from the back of the company leading out into the woods.
Just going out into the forest.
Well, normal people have problems with their connection being interrupted because of power outs, and you're like, fucking bear chewed on the cord again. God damn it.
Yeah, it'd be pretty easy to find me.
Follow the cord.
Especially since there's a Pizza Hut drone dropping pizzas into the forest.
That would be awesome. I mean, when you think about it, moving out into the woods, if you could pick a place where it's like, you wouldn't even have to go far out into the woods to be away from people, and possibly still within the zone of delivery for these drones.
The real problem is that a pizza box is not very aerodynamic, and so it might tumble, and your pizza's going to be ruined. So they're going to have to develop some kind of aerodynamic pizza technology.
They don't land? They just... Because are you serious when you say they're like Pizza Hut drones?
Well, there's going to be a forest canopy that it'll probably be hard to fly into. It's going to have to...
that's why you would pick a place near a clearing, and then you'd go to pick up your pizza in the clearing, and then it just lands.
I'd have to build a platform for it to land on.
So it's not like you're going to be doing much with your time. You just bring your computer, plop on YouTube, how to build...
how to build a pizza delivery drone platform.
Or you buy a drone. So, like, you buy pizza, and then, like, you put the money in, like, a little pouch, and then you fly the drone in, and if you, like, it'd have a ticket or, like, a camera with your face on it. You'd be like, yeah, I'm here for this order.
Have it delivered to, like, to an open field where the drone is waiting. Man, I'm just so excited about it all. It's all so good. Like, even the bad technology that's going to be used, like, drones kill so many people. I'm still excited about a drone bringing me a pizza.
Well, the thing is, you can't, for technology, it's like, if you're only going to look at the negative side of things and refuse to see how positive it's going to be, you're not going to like any of it. And it's like, there are things that they are using in a bad way, but that doesn't negate the positive aspect of the technology.
Absolutely not. What are you excited for? What about when we can play video games on quantum computers?
That would be awesome.
So what do you think about who was it? Was it Google that were trying to create like a data center where they do all the heavy lifting on video games?
I think it's one of those things. It's a good idea, but it's not something I'm going to really look into for a while because I think it's going to have a lot of trial and error and a lot of. It's something they like. The only way to do it is to start and just fight through all those problems.
I don't see how latency is not going to be an issue. For people who don't know what we're talking about, Google was talking about creating a server that would run video games and then just stream the interaction of the game to your device. So you could play any game on any device because your device isn't doing the heavy lifting.
Yeah. So instead of having your computer connecting to the network, it's the network is sending you the game. So
you're sending you just like the data stream of what's happening in the game, and you're sending back input data to do things. And so like when I say run forward on my character, there's a latency time where it has to go to the data center and say run forward, and then it has to run forward and then send back the response.
Maybe just because you're not running so much, there wouldn't be as much latency because your computer can just be dedicated more to getting that signal out there.
Well, I don't think that how hard your computer is working affects your internet speed.
I don't really know.
But like, even like a 1 second latency would be infuriating.
Yeah. Half a second, it would be noticeable, and it'd be like, okay, I'll go for it.
But I mean, most latencies, in like if you're playing like World of Warcraft, they're measured in milliseconds.
Yeah.
And a 200 millisecond latency is pretty rough.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to play.
Yeah, it is. I've played games where you're looking at 2 or 3 seconds, and it's just like, nope, this is absolutely unplayable.
100%. If you have a 2 or 3 second delay, you turn the game off. Turn the game off.
I was playing Nier Automata, and I'd press the button, and it was.
Is that a multiplayer game?
No, maybe. I don't know. I never played enough.
Well, the tolerance is even lower in a multiplayer game. But imagine playing Call of Duty and you have a 1 second latency. That's it. It's unplayable.
Yeah. It's
not just infuriating. It's literally unplayable. Yeah. You can't play.
Because there's you're seeing this guy and maybe he's not where he is, or you shoot and he runs past before you're able to actually fire.
Everything you're doing, it's within a fraction of a second time frame. So if there's any delay at all,
it's completely ruined.
Can't play.
Yeah, it's just not. What I'm actually looking forward to is I want to see VR when it gets to a point where it'd be like you can, I want to see games developed where you put on the VR headset and maybe they have a room or something you could play in. But then, I was thinking about it the other day, for these action adventure games, where you're hack and slash, but you would be in there fighting, you'd have something like a stick or something.
Have you done VR at all?
Not really. I've done a couple of the things in the shopping malls, but I haven't done.
What do you know? What device you used?
It was just I don't even know. It could have been just a generic, no name device because it was just the ones that's you're on a roller coaster and.
Well, I meant more the VR technology.
Yeah, I know the VR tech. I don't know.
I did for the very first time just a little while ago, just last month. What month is it right now?
June tomorrow. It was May. The end of May.
Okay, shit. So it was this month I went. Oh my god, time's going by so fast, but it feels like it was so long ago. I used the HTC Vive and it was fantastic. Now obviously you can't move around.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
You would need an omnidirectional platform. Have you seen those with the slippery shoes?
I haven't, no.
Where it's imagine a concave platform that you sit on, or you stand on, I should say, and you have a belt around you with a harness that's connected to a
and it kind of holds your weight.
Well, it doesn't hold your weight. It just stops you from actually making progress in any direction. And your feet just slide because you're wearing these plastic shoes on this plastic ground, and they slide really easily. Yeah. And so that you also need that belt to not fall down, to slip off. And then you can literally run in any direction.
I would love to do that, and then just play a game where it's you're in there and you see you've got a sword and you're fighting a dragon as it's coming at you, and you just hacking and slashing. That would be so much cool.
Well,
so much fun.
Specifically, one of the games we played when I went earlier this month was Serious Sam, which is a really old shooter. Really old first-person shooter.
Yeah, is that the one?
It's from the fucking.
Was it live action and they jump out and then
no, it's animated.
Okay,
but it's really old. I mean, I've played the original version, I got poured up for Steam, I think it was, or maybe Good Old Games, and it's pretty bad. It's not a great game, and it was only fun because I was playing with a friend, and even then we only played it for an hour or two, and then I was okay, enough of this, but. Playing it in VR is the exact same game, but in VR, was so much better of an experience.
Yeah,
that I could genuinely play it all day, and it's like a 20-year-old game.
Yeah. There was one, I can't remember which shopping mall it was, but it was here in Wuhan. Or was it in Shanghai when I went there?
I can't imagine what Doom 2016 VR would be like. Being able to move around as well, omnidirectional.
That would be awesome. I wanted to try it because, like I said, I tried the ones where you sit.
About a workout, because that game you run for the entire time. The whole game you're running at full speed.
And that was the other thing too. Is like that would be so awesome as an exercise thing because you could be playing these games and exercising.
You know what you just reminded me of? It's completely unrelated. But have you seen the drone flying competitions?
No.
Where people build these tiny, ultra-fast custom drones and they pilot them through VR headsets.
What?
Because there's cameras on the drone and they go through these crazy, insane obstacle courses at insane speed. And like if you make any mistake, your drone like hits the wall and explodes. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And they're like professional leagues they're putting together now. Man, I'm so tempted to go buy a drone and like try to become a professional drone pilot. What the fuck? Why not, right? Why not?
Well, it's something you could play around with in your spare time, and if you can get a drone, like if you live in an area with any kind of woods or anything like that, you could take that drone and see and just.
I wonder how expensive one of those drones is.
I don't know, like
it's probably rough. It's probably about $1,000.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about getting a really nice one,
like these are like they're so fast. Like when you're watching them, when you're watching them in the stadium, it's like flying past you. But anyway, back to Doom. Like, it'd be a great exercise.
It would be.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot of fun.
Because when you said that, it made me think of people becoming, like, gaming athletes. And then I started thinking of gaming athletes, and I was thinking of the drone people. I was like, oh, shit.
But that would be so cool. Like, a new sport where it's like, what are you doing? Like, going back, if you were going, like, hack and slash adventure, having, like, hunting competitions in there where you'd be like, they design a map, and then it'd be like, you're free-for-all to see who can... you're hunting and the dragon or whatever, and you can fight each other and stuff like that.
That's why I loved Ready Player One so much. It's only a matter of time before we have that.
I haven't seen Ready Player One.
That's crazy, man.
I remember I was interested in it, but then the reviews weren't so good.
They're a bunch of shit kickers. Those people, those review people. You can't listen to reviews. It's so good. It's like the whole movie is just flawless. I would say almost flawlessly done fan service for video gamers.
Is Ready Player One the one where they take control of the convicts?
No, Ready Player One it's all a VR world where the world has been consumed by the most popular video game ever made, and it's a VR video game.
Oh, I don't even know
where people go into the game. Like you wear like a headset, and the people who can afford it wear bodysuits where they can feel what their character feels, and you live in this world, this VR world where you have permadeath. And so, like, if your character in the world dies, you lose your character and all the progress, all the loot, everything you've ever done.
And you have to
start over from nothing. And so people have, like, these whole, like, worlds inside the world. And it was just all so well done, man. And it was so... There wasn't any, like, crazy magical bullshit that wasn't realistic. Like, our VR technology will get to where Ready Player One is pretty soon.
Really awesome.
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
I remember there was a book I read.
What game do you want to play in VR?
Oh, a Zelda game would be awesome.
I knew you would say Zelda. I knew it.
Zelda Breath of the Wild. Awesome. Breath of the Wild. Yeah, Breath of the Wild would be pretty good. I'd even be down to play like an updated version of like Ocarina of Time.
So in Ready Player One, I think they call it a haptic suit, where it's like a full body latex suit where if you'll feel like impact, you'll feel hot and cold, you'll feel things like that, you'll feel pain. So how much do you want to feel in your game? In Zelda, when your character gets hurt, how much pain do you want to feel?
I think what I'd want would be, like a sting maybe, but I wouldn't want to be like, because if he gets thrown back, I don't want to be thrown and be like, okay, I'm out, I can't play anymore. But I would want it to be like, not just I don't feel anything. I would want to feel some kind of pain or something like that. Just because that would be, for me, it would be an indicator so that I can get better. And
it would add such a nice edge. Like that's why the pain, I think, in paintball is so important. Have you ever paintball? Yeah. It hurts to get shot, and I think it needs to hurt. It's important that it hurts.
And once you get used to it, though, it's so much fun.
Yeah, it is great. But I have bad luck. Every time I've ever been paintballing, I get shot in the hand.
Ooh.
And getting shot in the hand sucks. It always bleeds badly. It breaks the skin.
And I remember when I've only been paintballing once, I think, and it was for a friend's birthday because he was a huge paintballer, and they took our guns and they had this like thing and they shot each gun into the thing to test how so they could adjust
to make sure no one turned up their PSI.
Yeah, it's because they were like, and we were like, why'd you do that? He's like, well, because if the PSI is high enough, it could literally shoot through your leg, and we're like, what? And he's like, yeah, it can, like, it'll shoot. I think
it'll break the skin.
Yeah, when he said through the leg, and we were like, what? And my friend's dad was like,
it's like a laser.
My friend's dad was like, we were like, go through the leg. He's like, no, it'll go into your leg. It'll puncture, but it's not gonna like shoot through like a bullet because otherwise you wouldn't be able to have paintball guns.
Not in Canada. But paintball's fucking great, man.
It's so much fun.
I did a little bit of paintballing in high school with some friends. They had like a big backyard and we used to paintball in the woods. And I think I've only been to an actual paintball place, like an indoor paintballing stadium, once in my life. And I remember I got sniped where both teams start behind this like fortress cover. And the game had just started. And I remember I walked like 3 feet to the left and there was maybe a 1-inch gap in between these two pieces of cover. And I was looking through the gap and I got sniped right in the face. And there's orange paint all over my mask. I was like, what the fuck? Someone just sniped me right through this little hole? How?
I remember what my uncle he told me that when they were kids, they'd take BB guns and go into the woods, be like 20 of them, and they would shoot at each other with these BB guns. But they had a rule, I was like, how could you, like, if you're close enough, you can actually hurt
eyes got lost?
Nobody, like, that was a thing. They did it a lot, and he said every once in a while, like, you'd get one that would, like, hit your leg, and it might puncture, but you just pull it out, and it wouldn't go in far.
Yeah.
And you could easily, like, it would still be sticking out, so they'd pull it out, but they had a rule of, like, how far you could shoot, and if someone called someone on that and they're like, he shot too close, like they took it very seriously because they're like, look, you could really get hurt. And if they decided you shot from too close, they'd send that guy walking back home on his own and he wouldn't be allowed to play with them till the next time.
Okay.
And
responsible fellows back in the day.
I can remember even Jerry had air rifles and he had a pellet gun and he had swords and bows and arrows and stuff in his house. So we'd go over to his house and we'd go into the forest.
Collection.
Yeah. And I can remember one time we were standing about like 20, 30 feet away from each other and we're kind of standing behind trees and I had the pellet gun and I'd lean out and I'd fire a couple shots and like it's, as soon as any kind of tiniest gust of wind and your shot's gone completely wild. Yeah. And so we were like, we're not going to hit each other. And he ends up hitting me in the shoulder twice. And it didn't do anything. It was just like, fuck, because it stings.
Yeah.
But later on we get home and apparently his air rifle has a leak. So if you pump it and let it sit for a second, the power will leak out. And so he pumped it once, points it at me for like half a second, and then shoots me in the balls. And I'm like, dude, what the hell? And he's like, it has a leak. I was like, dude, you pumped, paused, and shot. If it had a leak that was actually affecting it in that time, then we would hear the air rushing out or something like that.
So that's how you lost your balls?
Yeah, that's how I lost my balls. No, he didn't, like, he shot at my crotch. I don't remember where he hit. It hurt.
It's still a little unrelated, but you made me think of it when you were talking about his weapons collection. I've always wanted to get into blacksmithing a little bit.
Oh, man.
I'd like to make a sword or make an axe or something like that.
I am absolutely agreeing with you.
Make a giant hammer.
Whenever I play a game, the first thing, if you can choose the professions, the first thing is mining and blacksmithing. That's what I am in every game I've ever played. Mm-hmm. Do you ever play RuneScape?
I always get it mixed up with the other one.
EverQuest?
Yes, I always get it mixed up with EverQuest. Which one looked like which?
I don't even know what EverQuest is. I don't have
any idea. I think I did.
RuneScape was the one when you first played it. It was just like little paper people, and you'd walk around, and that was the first iteration when I started playing. And
everything's 2D, right? Yeah.
It was completely 2D, and you go in and like you could get like your swords would be like your just like that. And you just
that's EverQuest. Yeah.
When I did
RuneScape.
Yeah, when I did that, I was like. That was where I discovered my love of mining because I loved just going out and you'd find places and get your pickaxe out and you'd start mining.
Why don't you go mine in real life?
Well, I mean, it's not nearly as fun.
Yeah.
I mean, in RuneScape, you'd go over, click, oh, hey, I got some coal. Click, oh, hey, I got some coal. Click, oh, hey, I got some coal. But I love that. And then
going... an entire bar of gold. Look at that.
And the thing my favorite part of the mining is when you like whenever you go, you get your materials, you take them back, and you make the ingots. Yeah, that was my favorite part. I didn't. If I could have, I just kept them there, but because I love to look at them, and then like you do bronze, go up to iron and steel, and I love the look. Like an ingot, just to me, is something I don't know what I love about it so much, but I love the idea of just an ingot of metal.
Yeah, I actually agree. I like that a lot as well. Something that I think that MMOs always needed was physicality to currency. I always wished in World of Warcraft, when you go and kill a dragon, I always wished that there was actually a hoard of physical wealth there. That you could actually go up and there's like coins and bars of gold and all this stuff, and it's physically there on the ground.
Yeah.
You know, even if you can't interact with it, it's a nice touch.
Yeah.
But obviously, I would like to interact with it. But.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Like, even if they had a limit, it's like, all right, when you go in here, you can only take X amount, but you could go in and be like, oh, I'm going to take 3 bars of gold. There's some mithril over there. I'll take a couple of that. You know?
Yeah.
I want to, like, I really want to get back into it, but at the same time, I don't, just because it's going to suck my life away. Final Fantasy XIV, when it first came out, I bought it, pre-order, and all that, and it was dog shit. Absolutely terrible. No in-game explanation, no menu, no recipes. Like, first thing I did, because you can choose a class, and one of the classes was blacksmith. So I was like, all right, well, I'll start as a blacksmith, which was a mistake, because you can start as anything, and if you start as a warrior, you get a sword.
Change it later.
You get a sword, and blacksmith, you get a hammer. So I really didn't have fighting power. But I remember, and there was also no explanation for how you're supposed to mine, because in this one, like, you'd have to smelt the stuff, and then you'd have to, like, pound the ore, but they didn't, there was this little wheel that would come up, and it would, this line would pulse out, and it'd be like, all right, when do I click it? And you'd click it, and it would show you that you'd got a bad one, and it was, like, just figuring out if you had done well or done bad. No explanation. There was no tutorial. Nothing. And it wasn't like, we're just throwing you into the world. They just hadn't done it, and it was
lazy,
horribly imbalanced, because like some of the early quests required you to get this item and there was like nearby in any place that you could get to, there was only like 4 or 5 of these creatures, so you'd show up there and there's just like 30 people waiting to kill these things. And it took them 2 years. They took the game offline. 2 years later they brought it back out, and I was like, I could do that, but I was here in China. Game was back home. I brought it with me now.
So they fixed it, is what you're saying.
They fixed it, and apparently it's really good, but I didn't start. And I could have gotten back on there and just started fine, but I was like, I don't want to.
Is it an MMO?
Yeah, it's an MMO.
Okay.
Because at that point I was playing Guild Wars 2, and I was like, I don't want to start this new one because I don't know what it's going to be like. I don't want to, and it's paid subscription. Guild Wars is free. And I kind of...
Final Fantasy's paid?
Yeah, Final Fantasy 14.
How many people play?
I do not know that. Like I said, I haven't researched it because I didn't want to get sucked into it. And I knew if I did, I'd be like, because, it's an MMO, but think about an MMO which has, like, Final Fantasy always had the summons. You could summon, like, the big dragon Bahamut, or you could summon Ifrit, this fire demon. I wanted to see how those summons would work in the game, and there's so much in that game I wanted to see, and that's why I didn't research it, because I was like, if I do this, I am just going to be sitting there just like, this is so, I gotta get back into this. And I
played 10 hours a day.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Have you looked into ESO at all? I watched some reviews a little while ago.
ESO.
It looks pretty good. Elder Scrolls Online.
I thought that one was really bad.
It was really, really bad when it came out, and so I never looked into it, and then years went by, and just recently I looked at a review of how it is currently, 2019 ESO, and it actually sounds pretty damn good.
Look at that. Excuse me.
Yeah. You gonna play Classic WoW? Comes out this summer, comes out in August. Play. I'm gonna be playing. That's good enough reason.
I'm going back to school, man. I can't.
Yeah, that's true. You really don't have time for it.
No. The Classic WoW, is that just vanilla, like up to level 60?
Yep.
I played when Burning Crusade came out.
Yeah, I started like 6 months before Burning Crusade.
I did get one of the original legendaries from the big raid.
You got it in TBC though, right?
Yeah, I got it.
Did you get Ragnaros' hammer or
it was the hammer.
Sword? Okay.
Jerry had both of them.
Yeah.
But I remember because we went and Jerry had, like, for some reason Jerry had, like, he made the hammer and then he started making another one for shits and giggles. And we're going through and he could run through the dungeon by himself. Like, at this point, I think when I actually ran through it was when Wrath of the Lich King had come out, so we were level 80.
Yeah.
So
makes more sense.
We were running through, and he's like, "Can you just come? Because there's this one guy I need to fight, so I can get the other half of the Thunder Fury." I was like, okay, so we go through, we fight, we did it once, he didn't get it, and he's like, why don't we just go fight the final boss? And I was like, okay. He's like, all right, if the final boss drops the eye, which you need to craft the weapon, I will give you my finished hammer, and all you gotta do is mix the two together, and you're done. And he's like, but chances are it's not going to drop. It drops in the first time we do it. So he's like, here you go. And he's like, he gave it to me, and he's like, all right, with the amount of gold that cost me to make, basically, there's going to come a few points where I'm going to ask you for some gold, and I'm not going to give it back. I was like, all right, that's fine. Like, I just got this legendary dropped in my lap. Even though it's an old level 61, I still got a legendary.
Yeah, it's still pretty sweet to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited about it. I played a mage, and so I'm going to make a paladin. I'm going to also make a mage, but I really just want to make the mage for PvP.
Talk to Jerry about how to play paladin.
I really just want to make the mage for PvP, and I never did any raiding in Classic, because I heard about... So I hated questing, I hated leveling, I hated grinding, I just wanted to PvP. And so even though I played for like 6 months, I wasn't max level, because I didn't have any interest in raiding, so I had no reason to be level 60.
Yeah.
And then I heard about TBC, and I was like level 55, and I heard that you had to... The Burning Crusade.
The Burning Crusade.
And I heard that you had to be level 58 to enter the Hellfire Peninsula. Yeah. And so I just grinded up to 58 real quick, and then the day it released, I went into Hellfire, and I went straight up to 70 in just a couple days. I just grinded.
That was one thing. Going from 60 to 70 was not...
It was not difficult.
Not difficult. No. Going from 70 to 80 was a bit of a pain in the ass, I felt.
60 to 70 was very, very fast.
I remember going through the Burning Crusade. It was just blitzing through it.
Doing like 20 quests at once.
Yeah.
The quests were very well batched together. But I never really raided, and so I would like to do some serious raiding in vanilla. I'm going to do it with a paladin.
I remember Jerry's told me the story. I probably told you once or twice about how they wiped on a boss when it was half health, and he survived, and he was the only surviving member, and he beat the boss from half health to nothing.
In what?
In a 5-man dungeon.
Oh, in a 5-man dungeon.
But I think it was a 5-man dungeon. But it's like, if the boss is at half health, and 4 of your teammates die, your chances are you're not going to survive. He beat the boss, and one of the guys who he was with was like, I just videotaped that, and I'm sending that to Blizzard as a reason why paladins need to be nerfed.
Paladins are pretty badass.
Yeah. Well, Jerry, I can remember when I played, like, I'm getting more and more technical and trying to be more aware of my skills, because like when I play games, I tend to be just like, okay, this skill, you spin and it gets all the guys. And that would be the extent of my knowledge, where I'd look down and I'd be like, oh, it actually does this and this and this too. Like, I actually had that with Guild Wars the other day, because I knew what my skills did, but I was like, I'm just going to go through and read all the skills that I use. And I went through and I found out that there was a skill that I've been using, and I didn't realize that it set up a combo field. And what that does is when you use a skill with a combo field, you can use another skill. And if you're inside that combo field when you use that skill, it'll add an extra effect to the skill. And I didn't realize that one of my skills, and I've been playing this character for a long time, had that effect. And so it was just like, that changes, and it was one of those things, it changes everything about how I play, because it changes when I use my skills and all that, because now I only had one combo field, now I have 2 for that same for the weapon class I'm using. And it was one of those moments that was just like, blew my mind. It's possible that they added that in later, but I remember when I played WoW, it was basically like, when my skill cooldown was up, I just used a skill. And there were a couple skills I didn't even use that people said you should, that I just didn't figure out how to use. I was just pressing buttons kind of when I played WoW.
Do you, in your opinion, is there much of a community in Guild Wars? Like, do you have a guild? Do people know you? Do you talk to each other? Do you speak to people?
Just because of how I am, I haven't really started that. Like, I haven't really gone into that, but you absolutely do have that community. The nice thing about Guild Wars is that it does kind of have, you can get the community feel a little bit, just because there are a lot of events that happen that you just have to be there, and there's going to be other people there. So,
but you don't have to interact, though, right? Because I've seen you play Guild Wars before, and you've explained some of the boss fights and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's basically participation trophies. Like, everyone gets something.
There are other. Yeah. I never showed you.
You don't actually have to cooperate.
That's not all of them. Like, when you see me play, you haven't seen me do the dungeons, and they're like, the fractals are one of the things. They're these short dungeons you can do, and those ones, some of the bosses are just burn them down. But there are other bosses where it's like, you got to be paying attention, and you got to be looking out but it can be a little bit more just as long as you're like the boss will have things that he does and you have to dodge them, and as long as you know what to do, you can just do that. But it's not really dependent on like having the healer doing this and the tank doing that. There's no tank or healer really in this. There can be, but you're never going to be a healer like you were in WoW, where you have to have a healer. Yeah. If you run through, like I've done a dungeon where it was five warriors into the dungeon, and
do you think that's a good thing though?
It's
because that class specialization gives you.
I would say
gives you what's the word? It gives you a personality. It gives you a character.
I agree. Like I would like to see more class specialization, and I think Guild Wars is great because Guild Wars for me is it's enough and it's good enough, and they have a lot of extra stuff around it that makes the game good. There's a lot of things they do well, and I think the fact that like they just took that aspect out because they wanted to make this a bit more for the casual person, and that's what I really love about Guild Wars, because Guild Wars is a game where if I don't play Guild Wars for 2 months, I don't feel...
You don't feel like you missed out.
I don't feel like I've missed out. Like, WoW, if you didn't play WoW for a week, sometimes like you could feel like, man, I haven't played WoW for a week. Like, you'd feel almost guilty. And it was and like...
You could possibly miss really badass events.
Yeah.
Like, I remember Doomlord Kazakh coming. I remember the Blood Plague event. I remember these things.
The Blood Plague event, was that the event or the just where everyone went crazy and was affecting everyone?
Well, yeah, it wasn't like a scheduled triggered event. It was a player created
catastrophe
apocalypse.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember being there for that too, because I can remember just walking in and in front of Orgrimmar was just skeletons, just covered in skeletons, and then I'd walk in and
just filled with dead bodies,
just dead, and I'm just, what the hell?
Yeah. Or Doomlord Kazakh comes and he just can't be killed because he has so many. He has these attacks where if the attack successfully kills somebody, he gets healed tremendously. And since there's like thousands of level 1 people coming in and dying, then he just never ever dies.
One thing that I really that Guild Wars does, which is for me is just phenomenal, and it's a really great way because like. A great way to like keep the old events and old bosses still feasible was that all the drops you get from bosses are based on your level. So if you go into a level 15 zone, your stats are dropped down. You're still higher, like you're still going to have higher stats than a level 15 because you've got better equipment and stuff. Like you're going to be the best you could possibly be at that level.
Okay.
And you're going to be better than a level 15 could possibly be. Like, but you're still lower. You're not going to be as strong as you are in the 80 zone. But that means you can go and fight these bosses. And so you're fighting a level 15 boss. You're still getting level 80 gear.
That's good, I guess.
Yeah. That's one of the things. Because that way, it means...
What happens when you PvP against that level 15? Do they have a chance
No, you don't. You can't.
Oh, okay.
In PvP, when you go in, it's the main... Like PvP where you have like the cap... 5v5, it'll be like capture territories and stuff. Like you'll be level 80s. If you enter at a level 80... You'll be playing against level 80s. If you enter at level... I don't even know if you can lore, but I think if you do, you'll enter at like it'll be 5 levels within you that you'll be fighting.
Okay, that's good. All right, everybody, how you doing? We're back. And by the way, to do the intro, this is Chris.
Hi.
Another episode of Bullshit Video Games. Now an hour and 40 minutes in. That's a good place to do an intro.
Yeah, great place.
So you're probably not going to play Classic WoW.
Probably not going to play Classic WoW, no. I am though wanting to find a new MMO. Like I want to find a new one. I wanted to have a really good crafting system. Like I don't care if it's like I want to get away from the craft the spearhead, craft the spear shaft, put them together. You have a weapon. I want to get into it's like where you have to get leather for the grip and you have to make that hilt and you have to make the blade and you have like I want the crafting system to be like 5 or 6 steps where you have to go through and do, even if there's like little mini games, whatever you got to do, like a little something you got to do differently for each one.
From your perspective, why don't you play Factorio? Because I've never seen a more robust creation system, crafting system.
The problem for me with Factorio
what's missing
is,
there?
For me, what I love about, mystic, like fantasy and magic, mystical shit. That's what like all the games I've played have been fantasy based, and I love the idea of being a blacksmith making swords and stuff. Okay. With Factorio is an amazing game, and I love the idea. Like I love mining. I loved setting up the mines and stuff like that. But just for me, building a factory is like it's fun. Like,
would it change if it was first person?
No.
Would it be better? No,
it wouldn't. Like I really
what if it was filled with dragons?
Well, see, that's the thing. if they had a crafting game which was about like you go out and like the main focus of the game was setting up a crafting thing and the like fighting was even secondary to that and all that, I'd be probably down for that if they did the crafting really well. Like, and I did like Factorio. Playing with you was a lot of fun. It's just we didn't have the time to dedicate to be able to do anything worthwhile.
It's also a game that becomes very frustrating if the people you're playing with if they don't know the game.
Yeah.
You know, so like, I don't think that you ever played it in your free time.
No. Well, I did play a little bit, but then I just...
Not enough to learn the game.
No.
And Jerry was the same way. And so when the three of us played together, it was never the three of us playing. It was always me teaching the two of you.
Yeah.
And so it's a very different experience if all three people know how to play the game. They don't need to teach each other. If everyone can go in different directions and do things independently that work toward a whole. So, yeah. I'm hoping we're going to see a lot of really... big mods for Factorio soon, because apparently in 0.17 they made a big change to the AI that allows modders to add their own AI.
Yeah, that could be really cool.
So we should see some... You know what I want to see? I want to see SimCity in Factorio.
That would be cool.
Where my factory creates the raw materials to create the city. And then I start placing down like city blocks, but the city runs autonomously. I don't tell people what to do. I don't have any influence on that.
You just decide that I'm going to have like a residential district here and a business district over here.
And the city gets attacked, of course, by the aliens. Yeah. It's not worth building if I can't see it get destroyed.
Yeah. One of the, going back to MMOs, one of the reasons I want to find a new one is, like I told you what I liked about Guild Wars, how they level you down so that like the world bosses and the world events are still viable to level 80s. Yeah. But one of the things they did that I really don't like was they have their releases for like the main game. Like they'll release the like they had the original release and they called it Living World. And the first Living World was kind of like you had a bunch of different events that they connected later, but it all culminated in this massive, like there's a place called Lion's Arch, and that's kind of like the hub city where everybody ends up going, because there's the racial cities and then there's Lion's Arch, and the whole Living World scene as one culminated in the battle for Lion's Arch, where this one of the big character you've been following, she's been going through like setting up alliances and researching technology, and she's insane, and she's just trying to basically screw you over at every point. I didn't play all the Living World Season 1s, and I started later, but when the battle for Lion's Arch was this massive, huge map, and you're just doing all these different battles, and you had like 3 bosses you had to fight, and you had to have enough people to kill all the bosses at once. Then you go up top and you fight this big main boss, you fight her, and then you would go into your own solo instance and end it. And it was such an epic battle, and it was so cool because the stakes were quite high, because otherwise it's just a timer reset on a battle outside anywhere. But this one was for Lion's Arch, and it was, you get to see all the places like where you did crafting and stuff like that. They're all destroyed, and you're fighting over the remains and all that. And it was so good because they had all these items you could get, and if you played it a lot, you could get items from defeating the bosses, which you could use to craft really cool items. And then after that, the next Living World, they changed it so it's all solo instances, which is cool and all because it does add a little bit, because it's like in WoW when you'd go and you'd be like high up level guy who's like friends to who was the orc leader? Thrall. You're like friend of Thrall, and you're like his ambassador. But then you go into these places and they're just like, and suddenly even in like the Wrath of the Lich King, you'd go in these guys, be like, hey, you'd be like a peon. You'd just be like this low little nobody. And in this one, they really did
fetch my water.
Yeah. This one, they had it like when you're going through the story instances and you're going to these new places that they added, everybody refers to as like Commander. Like that was really cool. The story part of it, they really did well. But they just, when they switched to solo instances, it lost a bit of that epicness, because even if you could have the same amount of NPCs there filling in for all of the other people, when there's not a bunch of other people doing things that you need to be doing this and they need to be doing that and this group over here has to be doing something, it just takes away a little bit of that epic feeling.
Yeah, that's fair.
I also think it takes away some of the quality of the world when they put too much emphasis on the character. Especially, this is something that I've always wanted from shooter games. I've never played a shooter game, a war game, where I actually feel like a soldier in an army. You always end up feeling like this fucking unstoppable killing machine, and the entire war effort relies on you.
Yeah.
They never are able to successfully make you feel like you're just a part of the machine. Every single game. It doesn't matter if it's Call of Duty and you're like one of the World War II ones where you're storming Normandy. You're literally doing everything. You're killing every German. You're destroying every bunker. You're doing everything. And it doesn't feel like D-Day. It just feels like some kind of fucking war fantasy.
Yeah, I see what you mean there.
The only game that's ever done that well is Quake. I forget which Quake game, like Quake 4 or something like that. The campaign. The first half of the campaign, you're like a soldier. And the second half, you're like this like bio-engineered thing. I don't know. I stopped playing. But in the beginning, before you get captured by the enemy and get like converted, you really do feel like I think the story is you and your army is attacking, like assaulting this planet, and you're like dropping from space into like trench warfare, and it really does feel like there's a war going on around you, and what you do isn't that consequential.
Well, and sometimes like games, they don't necessarily like have to make it so that all of the guys are necessarily fighting with you, but if they, because I've seen some games where it was still focused on you, but you could kind of see on the outsides like stuff was going on and battles happening, and you see soldiers falling on both sides. Because even sometimes with that, they can just script it so that this guy's going to fall at this time and this guy's... But yeah, I get what you mean when you're playing games like Halo. Halo was one too. Like, you read the books, and the Spartans were quite powerful, and they were really good, and they did a lot. And Master Chief was really good, but there were still times where like fighting these guys, fighting the elites and all that was really difficult for him, and he ends up like with serious wounds that he has to go and get healed. But in this one, it was just
you just immortal. You just kill everybody. Stalker does a really good job, coming full circle here, of making you feel like the environment is alive around you, and you often find yourself doing quests not because of some reward the quest is going to give you, but because of the effect that the reward has on the environment. For example, there are these creatures, these mutants called bloodsuckers. Mm-hmm. Now, you probably won't be, but I get scared shitless in this game. This game has a very spooky environment. The environment is also extremely dangerous. I mean, I loaded up my end game character the other day, and this was the one that I did the playthrough for YouTube, so I was completionist. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm talking about I got the best armor in the game, I got every single upgrade, I have all the best guns, all the best ammo for the guns, I have everything, all the best artifacts, everything. And I loaded up the end game save, where you go into like free play mode, and I'm walking around Pripyat in like the tall grass, and a fucking mutant comes out and two-shots me. Wow. The most powerful mutant, it's called a Chimera. But even with all the best shit in the game, I had this giant heavy-duty machine... Or no, I had a striker, an automatic shotgun. And he came out and swiped me from the left, and I just spun around, firing full auto. And he swiped me again and killed me. and I had just reinstalled the game, and I was like, yep, this is Stalker. This is a perfect...
Because you're going to be going home soon. I'm probably going to be going home in the next couple months to switch my visa to a student visa.
Okay.
If I can, I don't know, might not be able to do it this time just because of cost, but if I can, I'd like to come visit you.
And, dude, yeah, come by, man. Come through.
And we'll see if we can, while we're there, we'll do like a scary game.
Dude, we should.
Co-op playthrough.
Yeah. What are you thinking about doing with the green screen?
The green screen? Honestly, I haven't thought about it yet. I'm thinking something like what you did, where when you said like, where you're just kind of in the screen.
Yeah, chroma key.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Maybe we should just play scary games. Scary games are so popular on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing that here too. But I still want to try and make it educational. Like, see how I can bring games into education.
Yeah, GG. We should have done those co-op scary game videos. Yeah, that was such a good idea.
It's too bad, like, we live at, like, the farthest possible ends.
Hey, man, you chose that. That was your choice. For obvious reasons.
It's true. And I'm saying now, like, can we please just move a little closer? But, like, at this point, like, because you're leaving, Jerry's time here is, days here are numbered.
Yeah, he's becoming more jaded.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, it's easy. It's easy to become jaded living here.
Well, I understand that, and I fully understand that, but it's just the reasons for his jadedness. It's just dude, all of the complaints you have are not complaints against China, because they're not. They're complaints against how your life is going because you're just too lazy to get up and change anything. That's it. That's it. His internet and his ability to play games. Well, that when his housing contract came up, that was still his biggest complaint. And I was like, dude, just move to a house. Did he? No, because that would have required some work. Anyways.
Anyway, yeah.
Just if I could go on rant about that for a while. But
if you ever want to make some cooperative content in the future, we should. You should do something with the grayscale, man. Do something with it. It's a nice one.
It is a nice one.
It's this weird, like, plasticky material. Weird. Yeah, go ahead and touch it.
Oh, yeah, okay. Let's do that. That would be... I'm still not sure what I can do, like, where my desk is and stuff. Like, you've seen it. I don't have a whole lot of room to work with right now.
You're going to have to reorganize some things. Because it has to have more light on the side that the camera can see than on the other side. Substantially more light for it to work. And so if you put it, I think I remember where your desk is. So that is going to be in front of the window. Yeah, it wouldn't work. So then you're going to have a strong light on your side of the
Well, I think because of where my desk is, I can still, like, if I can move my camera over to the edge of the desk and do something.
You can also just do the recording at night.
That's true. Yeah. That's very true.
So what's the scariest game you've ever played?
Ooh, good question.
Have you ever been truly scared in a game?
Not really. No. I didn't start playing scary games for a while.
Dude, play Stalker.
Yeah.
All right? Play it with headphones, play it at night, turn off the lights, and tell me that you're not spooked out. No, it's a very, very spooky world to live in. Oh, what I was saying about the quest. Right. I was trying to tell you about the mission. So, bloodsuckers are these scary mutants, and they turn invisible. And they're incredibly strong. They'll kill the shit out of you, even if you're a strong character. Yeah. And so you get a mission to go scout out this abandoned building because there's some people there's a lot of bloodsucker activity. They're killing people. And the world really is moving around you. The world is dynamic around you. People are killing each other. There's raids going on. There's all these factions fighting. There's mutants attacking people randomly. Yeah. And so it is fairly common for you to just be like wandering around and you'll hear gunshots in the distance and like you'll look through your binoculars and there's like a couple of stalkers or faction members or bandits, then they're being like, attacked by mutants and being killed. That's pretty cool. You can go help them if you want or not, and
just wait and then take their stuff.
Yeah, you can just wait and take their stuff. Or if they're friendly to you, you can go up and like talk to them as if you're a friend and just shoot them in the face. But there's this one mission to clear out a bloodsucker lair. And the game is spooky. And I don't like bloodsuckers. Alright? They're real sneaky because they're invisible. And they have a tendency to suddenly appear behind you. And there's very little music in the game. That's why you have to play.
Environmental?
Yeah, you have to play with headphones. With high quality headphones. And play at night when you're not going to be disturbed. And you hear every footstep. And you hear the grass rustling. And you hear everything. And all of a sudden...
And I have a cat who's just going to pop up in front of me.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Bo, what the hell, man?
Exactly. But the mission to go clear the bloodsucker lair, that's the kind of thing you do for free in that game. It doesn't even matter if they're going to pay you or give you anything. Like, yes, I will go clear. If it means that there's less bloodsuckers in the area, fantastic.
Or also just because like that you're playing the game, you love it. That scary part of it is part of...
It is. Yeah,
it is part of what you like about it, or might make you shake, or But
that's why the show Chernobyl made me want to download the game again. It's like there are some times, man, and there's such a perfect blend of Russian and English in the game. Like I honestly think when they want something to be more mysterious, they just don't. They purposely don't translate it. Yeah. So, like in the end of the first game, the whole game is you progressing toward the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, closer and closer. And so, of course, in the end of the game, you're in the power plant, and it's such the game does such a good job of making the environment so fucking inhospitable and so dangerous, from radiation, from electrical components, from psi emissions, from all sorts of things like this. And then on top of all of that, you're fighting enemies and you're dealing with with weapon malfunctions and ammo shortages, and you still need to eat, and you have to check on all these different things. It's so fucking stressful and such an enjoyable stress.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, and you're like in this deep, dark, like fucking basement level of Chernobyl, and the radiation is through the fucking roof, and so you wish you could wear your good body armor, but you have to wear a hazmat suit, otherwise you'll die of radiation poisoning, and you're in like fucking waist deep water, and your Geiger counter's going crazy, and there's like an alarm going off in Russian telling you that the area is irradiated and you're gonna die if you stay here.
Oh, man.
And you have like fucking Monolith members shooting at you, and it's so fucking good.
That sounds awesome. I don't know what the scariest game I would have played though is. I remember we tried to play it, but the beginning of the game was really lacking. It was what was it called? Do you remember the one that we tried to play? And when you were at your old school?
Yeah, and there was like that one good jump scare, I think.
Well, the problem with that game was it took a while to get into it.
Okay.
But once you get into it, because I can remember some of the things in that game, like it was...
Dude, I remember that now. My back was recently injured, and so I couldn't sit. I was laying down while we were playing. If
we could get through the rest of that, there are some parts in that game that are... Like, that game, I think, had probably the biggest scare I've ever had, because I remember you get...
Was it a jump scare?
Yeah, it was a bit of a jump scare, but you, I don't remember where it was. I think you're in like the library or something, and you're with this other FBI agent, and you fall through the floor, and she's like, all right, go to this place, and I'll meet you there. So, you start going, and the whole thing is with this, there's like some sound. Sound is a big part of this game, I believe, and so you have these like hallucinations, and like where these like monsters are coming at you, or you'll see weird things that are happening. And I can remember I walked into this room, and it was just like there's 2 shelves, and there's like a barred door, and then I walked in, I looked around, and I'm in the corner, and I turn around, and the agent that I had just been looking for is standing there with a piece of wood, and just as I turned around, I just see this piece of wood coming down, and I'm just like shooting, and then like I'm shooting, and then the crazy thing about it was as soon as she hit me with it, she disappeared, and then the bar window she's on the other side going, what are you shooting at? And I'm just like, what the hell? Like, it scared me, because it was one of those times where it wasn't like it was just as I'm turning around, she's just standing there, and I happened to see, and I got there just in time to see her, and that was one of the things, it scared the living hell out of me. And I can just remember the first game had some good scare scenes like that, and I remember at the end, you find this guy, the guy, like the serial killer you've been going after, and you have the choice to shoot him or not, and as it's like first person mode, you got the gun, and it's like shoot or don't. It's like, and so I waited, and he stopped, and he didn't shoot. And then it pulls out, and there's all these like demonic figures like reaching in at you as you're deciding whether or not to shoot this guy. And you didn't see any of them, and then it just pulls out, and all you see is you, the trunk of the car with the guy in it, and these demonic figures around. And then the guy pulls out a gun and shoots himself.
Shit.
And I was just like, fuck, that's...
So what if you shot him?
I don't know. I don't know what would have happened. That was another ending. And then the second game, after everything that happened, your guy's now, he's not in the FBI anymore. He's just drunk because all the crap that went on. And I can remember you get taken into the FBI, and they're like, for some reason, I don't even remember what it was, and they put you in like an MRI machine. And as you're in there, everything goes quiet. And he's like, hey, what are... And he kicks it, and you come out, and there's just like black sludge just like coming out of the walls and stuff like that. And you go walking through, and you find this one guy, and he's going to help you, and he says, my name's so-and-so, and you go running, and then you see this, like, just the floor is covered in just this black sludge. He's like, all right, we got to be really careful. Be really close, walk really slowly. When he's gone. He just gets sucked down into the floor. And then later on, you meet another guy, and he's like, how? You're still alive? Okay, we got to get out of here. And you're walking, and he helps you fight a few guys, and then he goes running, and something just comes down from the ceiling and grabs him. And those things, like, you can get pulled down, and you got to fight your way out, and these things will grab you. And I remembered, after you get out of this whole scene and you come back to reality, I remember walking into the elevator, and there's a thing that says, the memorial service for these 2 people, the names of the 2 guards that had just been helping you, will be later today at this time. And it was just like, it was a really good just environmental effect. Like, it brought it around, and if you hadn't even listened to the names, you might have been like, well, who are these 2 guys? But I realized it's the 2 guys that helped me in this weird alternate reality who have died. And it was just, for me, it was just the whole thing. I don't remember anything else about the game, because after that, I think it was pretty subpar. But it was I don't know if I finished that one, but that for me, those two moments were just.
Have you played any modern scary games like Outlast or like?
I didn't play Outlast. No,
any of that stuff.
I haven't played Outlast.
Or like the Fear Within, I think is a scary game, right?
Fear Within. What's Fear? I don't know. Oh, Fear. I played Fear.
No, not Fear. I think there's one called The Fear Within, and the cover is like the girl with wrapped in barbed wire.
No, I don't know that one. The first Fear was a good game. They had a lot of moments where, like, because this weird
the little girl.
I
tried playing it, and then the girl popped up once. I was like, "Fuck this!" and turned it off.
They had a lot of jump scares, but they also had some really good environmental things there. Because jump scares are one thing, but it's when the environment just has you going, something's gonna get me. Something's gonna get me.
That's what Stalker is.
Yeah.
At all times.
Another type of horror game that I watched a lot of. I played one that just. It was a good game, but it didn't have enough of the scare value and I felt I was acting too much in the game, acting scared and acting like this, so I didn't keep it. But the RPG Maker horror games.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I've seen Markiplier play a couple of those, and they're really cool. They're really cool because it's 8-bit RPG Maker, and yet some of these games, the scare factor of them is quite high. Like they're really scary, and it's all 8-bit.
Okay. And what are those, like, free downloads?
Some of them are. Some of them you gotta pay.
Okay.
One I watched Markiplier play, but I want to play with somebody, is The Witch's House, I believe it's called.
And you have to play co-op?
No, it's not co-op. It's just I want to play with somebody there because I've already seen it. Okay. But it's just the story, because of the way the story goes, and just some of the bizarre things you can see. They're really good. Another one I saw, what was it? It was called Ebe. And I watched Jacksepticeye play that one, and that one was really interesting because it's all about being lost in an art gallery, like, and just weird things keep happening. And it's surprising. Like, you might be like, 8-bit game, that's not gonna be scary. But yeah, it's fun.
I can't handle much scary. I can't handle.
We should try one of the 8-bit horror games because I think they have the scares, but because it's 8-bit, it does take a little bit of it away, but they'll still have the moments that just go, whoa, okay.
Like jump scares?
Some jump scares and some...
What was that game we played that was like Spooky's House of Jump Scares, something like that?
Spooky's House of Jump Scares, yeah.
That's what it's called?
That's what it's called. Spooky's House of Jump Scares.
Oh, Jesus. I thought I was just making up a name. I didn't know it was actually an accurate memory.
That one's one, like, you gotta get, at the beginning, it's not really jump scary, but later on as you go, you find out more things about all the weird shit that's going on there, and then it's like 100 floors or something like that.
I thought it was like 1,000, because we got over 100.
Yeah, you're right. And then they added more later, and it's just all this weird stuff. And that one was interesting. It wasn't quite as scary as some of the other games, but it was an interesting concept, and I think they did it pretty well. Because I like the way they, like, sometimes this little cute thing pops out, and it scares the shit out of you. Because you got this little tree stump with a smiley face popping out, and you're just like, oh, damn it. And then later on, the stump pops out, but now the face is all messed up and dripping blood, and it's just like, okay, that's creepy.
So you haven't played any of these modern ones. Do you expect that they'll be scarier than what you're used to?
I think I haven't seen any, because I've been looking at some of the horror games. I haven't seen any that I know that are out that I've been really interested in. One I really want to try, but I haven't seen anything about it, was Scorn.
Heard of it?
Basically, the way they did it is, like, you play the game, there's no HUD. Like, you have no targeting reticle, no nothing.
That's good.
And it's in a completely bizarre world. Like, they wanted to put you in a world where you have no basis for what's going on. You have no idea what's happening. And all of it's, like, the whole world is, like, weird flesh and bone. And you see these, like, really bizarre monsters. And it's all, like... And, like, your weapons, too. Like, the weapons are, like, living weird creatures.
Wait, I think I've seen a trailer of that.
Yeah,
Scorn. Yeah.
Scorn.
That's a horror game?
That's a horror game, yeah.
Shit.
And the whole thing was, it's meant to be very environmental horror, and they wanted to put it in a place where, like, you really have no basis. It's just this weird, fucked up world that you're in, and you have to play through. But all of it is meant to make you uncomfortable, and just I'm not sure though if it has like jump scares or anything like that. It's meant to be very environmental, but they also said like they wanted you to feel like you're in it. That's why there's no HUD or anything like that. You're just seeing a picture, like the picture of what's going on. And
I like that.
Yeah.
Jump scares feel so cheap.
Jump scares have to be done well. They have to be done well. Like a good jump scare, jump scare is a very viable way to scare someone. It's just some games that's all they have.
Yeah.
But then there's other games like I've seen some games. Markiplier played a couple of them. He'd play for he'd play it and do like 20, 30 episodes, and he'd get like 2 or 3 jump scares, but each one of those jump scares was just, it hit so well and so hard, and because you weren't expecting it because they hadn't done one, it just hits in such a good way.
Why haven't you played Outlast? It seems like it's
I don't know. I looked at Outlast and I watched Markiplier play it, and it does seem quite scary, but it just didn't click with me.
You should look up The Evil Within.
The Evil Within sounds familiar.
I have a friend back home who likes playing scary games. He said that one was really scary.
The Evil Within. Check that out, because I would like some scary games.
Do you think that scary games are scarier than movies? Scary movies?
I think because you're controlling it, they can be scarier. Scary movies
that was
for
my
me,
theory as well.
Scary movies for me, it's all like, yes, the game is scripted too, but some games will have like different choices. You can have different things happen, or it can happen in different ways at different times. And scary movies for me, I find most of the ones that were considered horrors were just like, they were gross. They were terrifying. There's a difference for me between terrifying and scary. Like the idea of a crazy man chasing you with an axe and he's trying to murder you. Yeah, that's terrifying. But then you have something like a game where you're playing and there's a monster popping up in front of your face.
Or I have a good example, and this comes from the VR. The very first thing they had us do with the VR, we put on the headset and you turned on a program where you're just a human being standing on the street in like New York or something like that, and all of a sudden your human being starts elevating and you realize you're in a construction elevator. And you go up to the top of a really tall building that's like the tallest in the skyline. Yeah. And he puts a plank of wood in front of you on the ground in the studio, in the apartment. And in the game, there's an I-beam in front of you with birds on it. And you walk out over the I-beam. And I've stood at the edge of cliffs before. I've stood at the edge of buildings. I've actually been up on a building that was still under construction. And it's the exact same feeling.
Yeah, I bet.
Your stomach turns. You get the exact same feeling as when you're on the edge of a cliff. And then he says 3, 2, 1, and you jump off the plank. And your character in the game jumps off and falls to his death.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So when you're talking about like fear, that's scary.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of these games are going to be next level insanity in VR.
There was a game I saw, and I really liked the previous one. It was called Little Sister, and it was a VR horror game. And basically the whole thing is you're in a room, and just very small room, very small. Like I don't know if they even planned to have more, but it was just, you'd be looking around the room, and every time you went around, things would change. And then like as you went, more and more would happen, and so like you'd be looking and there'd be a picture of like, and like the pictures would be, everything was kind of creepy already, but you'd be like looking around, and then you'd be looking, you'd be like, something's weird, and then you pass back over the picture and the eyes are black and dripping, and there's like black ooze, and you're just like, and then you go back around, and now there's 2 dolls sitting on the chair where there was only one before, and you come back around, and then like at one point they had, one of the endings was like, you'd be looking around and then you'd see fingers come around the sides of the goggles, and then like pull back, and it would just yank him back and down on the floor, and then this creepy monster would be looking, and I was like, that looks like a game I want to try.
I can't do it, man. I would close my eyes.
That looked so good.
I'd cry. I couldn't handle it, man. Even that game where I was on the top of the building, I was like, this is pretty close to my limit here. This is tough. Also, you have no frame of reference, so he had to hold my hand walking across the plank. Yeah. Like I had no balance. I had no balance at all. I couldn't. I
guess because you can't balance is very.
It was like a 2x6 plank. I could not walk across it without. I stepped off it multiple times because
you can't see the plank.
Yeah, you have no frame of reference because like you instantly get an adrenaline spike. You feel like you're on top of a building. You're like, oh fuck. Like, you can see all the way down.
So I'm guessing a couple of times like you stepped on it and then you feel your next step go a little lower. You're like,
yeah, 100%. You're like, oh.
That sounds so good, man.
And so I can't imagine like a high quality horror game. We played sort of like a tower defense horror game where you're like stand at a table and you have like a sword on the table and you have like this piece of paper where you like cast a spell and destroy these zombies that are coming at you from all directions. And
I've seen that one.
In the first level, they're coming towards you, and the second level, they come from the side as well, and in the next level, they come from behind you, and then they start spawning like little kids and stuff.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And it gets to a point where you're like killing things in front of you. You're casting a spell. You kill things to your side. You're killing things behind you, and then like there's more enemies in front of you, and then
you start to realize, like, oh no, I haven't turned around in like 15 seconds. I don't really want to.
Because you're like, I'm just gonna kill all these things. You're like, I took too long, shit.
Yeah. And then you turn around, there's like a child right in front of your face.
Oh, that sounds good.
But then at that point, instead of casting spells, you just pick your sword up and you just swing around wildly behind you, just in case there's anything there. Because once they get inside of a certain distance, you have to kill them with the sword.
Okay.
Oh man,
that sounds good.
I love the VR.
Where did you go to the VR?
Just right here in Gwangju, there's a place to pay 100 RMB and you play for an hour. Or two people can play for 30 minutes. That's what we did.
Your bug?
Yeah. And it was fucking awesome. It made me want to buy an HTC Vive. I came home and Googled it, like $1,500.
Yeah, at this point, it's like it's one of those things.
I'll give it another 10 years.
Yeah, you got.
I'm a patient man.
If you come home and you're like, there's like 4 or 5 games or something like that right now, you really want to try maybe, but
also I need to be able to move. I need to be able to move around. Like it was when I was in there. The moment I put it on, I wanted to run. I wanted to immediately run, but I had to keep reminding myself there's fucking concrete walls all around me.
Smash the thing into pieces on the wall.
Get it back in Gushin. Owe him $1,500.
That would be funny. It would be terrible, but it's so funny.
Man, it's pretty dope. I can't wait.
Yeah. VR, like, that's the thing. Right now, VR is... It's still kind of at that point where it's a novelty.
Think about how tourism is going to drop off when you can just visit anywhere in the world from the inside of your house.
That's one of my fears. Is like, I don't want that to become a thing. Like, I don't want myself to ever be like that. Like, if I ever do get a VR, I've decided that if it gets to the point where it's like it's that good and it's that amazing, I will force myself to go out and be outside. And
well, that's why I'm glad I've done so much traveling while I'm young. You know, in 20 years from now, there might be literally no reason to leave your house ever.
Yeah, but again, like that's where it gets down.
An AI buys your groceries. You know, an AI doctor checks you up every day as you take a shit. You know, you have a desk in your house or something like that where it's like a haptic suit, like Ready Player One, where you just get into this suit and you put on the headset and you can go anywhere in the world.
Oh, yeah. You mentioned that earlier. I was going to say there's a book. I can't remember what it's called, but it's called Otherworld or something like that. I haven't finished all of them. I just remember reading the first one.
You just remind me, I have to return your Brandon Sanderson book.
Warburger?
I have no idea, but you gave me a book 3 years ago. I never read it.
Okay.
So I gotta give it to you before you go.
What was I saying? Yeah. So that Otherworlds, it's all about like when they have that level of VR where you can like enter, like you, it's like you plug Matrix. In and Matrix and you enter in, but they also had. For most people, it's like you put on a headset and you'd be sitting there at your office and you would have like a persona in there that wouldn't be moving around too much. It would be very clear that you're just a low budget person just using like a keyboard or a controller to move around. But you could go in there and go to shops and things. And some people, but then the rich people could buy like full sensory things so that they could go in there and they'd be moving around and they could taste things in there and stuff like that. But it was really interesting because the whole thing was the main character's little brother was with a group of kids that like to do whatever version of hacking they had in there and get into places they shouldn't be. And her brother, there's been a growing thing of people going into a coma after going to certain places on the net. And so I remember the university, she was a university teacher, and where they worked, her and a friend were going to try and find what happened to her brother. But it's one of those things, if you're a rich person who's got one of these things, it's very easy to tell because the fluid of your movement, you're moving like a person in there.
Yeah.
And so like they were in their office, like they had these harnesses that they had like hung from the ceiling, and you would stand and it would fix it, and then you'd stand on the harness, like stand on the ropes, and then on your arms they'd have ropes wrapped around and everything like that. So that, and it was like one of the early versions, so you could move, and they had to practice so that they could just mimic the movements of someone in there who's rich and paid for all this stuff.
Okay.
And then they had like other versions. There was a kid, one of the kids, he played a game like you were describing, like Ready Player One, where it's like you die, it's permadeath, and you lose everything. And he was paraplegic, or I believe paraplegic or paralyzed. Like, I'm not sure if it was paraplegic or worse, but he had one like in the back of his neck. He had something insert, and so he would insert like a wireless thing, and then he could go in and play. And he was one of the top players in this game. And his whole thing was going through because his character got deleted by a glitch, and so he was kicked out of the game by this glitch, and he had to redo everything. But he was world famous in the game, and he lost it all because of some glitch that happened, which was a result of everything else that they're going for. And then there was a third character, and it's this guy. It's a human person who's jumping from like game to game or scenario to scenario, world to world, and he has no idea what's going on. He starts in World War II, and then he's with these guys, and it's a totally normal situation. And then he goes to sleep, and he wakes up, and there's a giant beanstalk, and he climbs up to the top, finds the castle, finds this weird bird lady inside there, and then he goes to Mars. The next time he wakes up, he's on Mars, and what was really cool about that was he's on Mars, and of course he's not an NPC in this story. So while he's on Mars, he meets a real person who pulls him aside, and he's like, I know we're not supposed to do this and it's bad etiquette and all, but I just wanted to ask you. And he starts asking him all these questions outside of the game, outside of the story that they're in, and the guy's just like, I have no idea what you're talking about, and he's totally confused. And it was really interesting how they had just 3 different aspects of this. And like I said, I never finished it. I don't know why, but just the things that the way they did it, it was very well written and very interesting.
So you wouldn't use VR if it was like that?
No, I would.
Or
it's just
I try not to use it every day, all the time.
Make sure that it didn't become to a point where I'm just some person who can barely use his legs because I've been sitting on a bed for so long, just plugged into this thing, and I'm practically half dead. Mm-hmm. My thing is like, I'll go around and be a person so that I can live longer, so I can do it more.
I honestly think that they're going to start genetically enhancing people. I think that 20 years from now, all the stuff we have today that improves people, but we have like a negative stigma on, like steroids, for example, all that stuff will be available at fucking CVS, at the corner store. Yeah. You can go down and it'll be refined so that there's almost no negative side effects to it. And you could be the blob. You could be the laziest person in the world, and
still be just ripped.
Yeah, doing VR all day, every day, but you still look like a fucking mountain climber because you're just jacked up.
Yeah, it's fair. Well, if that's the case, then great.
Yeah, and China's working on CRISPR technology right now. So
CRISPR?
Yeah, where you edit genetics.
Oh,
you edit genes. So the next generation, two or three generations from now, all the Chinese are gonna be 9 feet tall, and
shoot fire from their mouths.
Yeah, 7 dicks. Yeah. Even the women.
Unlimited stamina.
Yeah, exactly. Laser eyes. I think that's a good place to end it.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Thank you everyone for listening. Another episode of Bullshit in Video Games. Thank you for Chris coming on, being a guest.
Happy to be here.
Hope you have you on again in the future sometime.
We will next week.
Everyone take care. Do all those good things down below. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. Take care. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
How am I gonna find man I'm supposed to be? The man I am